Blinds.com has over 30,000 five-star customer reviews, and they guarantee the perfect fit for your windows, whether you do it yourself or have them measure and install everything for you.
Right now, shop Blinds.com's annual Friends and Family sale right from home with easy online ordering and free shipping right to your door. You'll save up to 40% on everything through October 13th. Blinds, shades, interior shutters, and more. Plus, pay over 24 months at 0% APR on qualifying purchases with PayPal Credit Easy Payments. Ends January 31st, 2021. As of September 1st, 2020, new PayPal credit accounts have a variable purchase APR of 23.99% that will vary with the market based on the prime rate. Minimum interest charge is $2, subject to credit approval. Visit Blinds.com/PayPal. Other rules and restrictions may apply.
Having recovered from COVID-19 may not guarantee you won't get sick again, according to a new study.
The Lancet Infectious Diseases Journal has published a study of a 25-year-old Nevada man who recovered from COVID-19 only to get even more sick less than 2 months later with a different strain of the coronavirus. The study's authors say this shows previous exposure to coronavirus might not guarantee total immunity in all cases, and everyone, whether they've previously had COVID or not, should take the same precautions to avoid infection. In Atlanta, Jonathan Seri, Fox News.
The National Highway Traffic Safety Administration is investigating complaints that the Chevy Bolt electric vehicle can catch fire. The agency says it has 3 reports of fires that began under the rear seat where the cars were parked and one person suffered smoke inhalation. It may cost a little more than you expect to buy a used car.
Used car prices were rising again in recent weeks. The Consumer Price Index.
The CEO of Dollar Tree unveils the long-rumored foil baking pan. A new donor liver complains about the difficulty of working with Lou Reed. And a local couple keeps their marriage together for the sake of no one. We'll keep this as quick and painless as possible. This is The Onion Week in Review. A study published this week in the Journal of Financial Economics found that 83% of gamblers quit right before they would have hit the big one. Researchers confirmed that roughly 8 out of 10 gamblers who walked away from slot machines, poker games, horse races, roulette, and other games were consistently just a single stake away from winning it all, and unknowingly gave up a lifetime of fortune by quitting prematurely.
Our study proved that subjects who closed an online poker session, walked away from a slot machine, or even gave up gambling altogether would have won millions of dollars in the next bet. Also, people who walk away after hitting it big are missing out on a chance to make more money. I mean, when you're hot, you're hot.
In other news, an Asian guy has a separate group of Asian friends, and a vain Galapagos tortoise tries to pass for 90.
This is the Onion News Network.
I mean, it's just so hard to believe that it's really all gone.
It was in this living room 3 weeks ago that the Talbot family discovered their DVR had suddenly and inexplicably crashed, deleting more than 5 years' worth of recorded live events and miniseries.
I keep having flashbacks to that day, to that moment when I realized everything was gone.
You know, you hear stories about people who mismanage their device settings, but you never really think it could happen to you. Honestly, it feels like some sort of a dream, like when I wake up, I'll be able to just go downstairs, turn on the TV, and all the episodes will be there again, as if nothing had ever happened.
Friends and family of the Talbots have pledged their support, organizing DVD donations and offering passwords to online streaming services while the family struggles to move on.
We know that we'll never be able to replace all the hours of programming that we had, but I think in the end we'll be just fine, as long as we have our 5 seasons of Seinfeld on DVD.
This is the Onion News Network.
Free Talk Live.
It's Free Talk Live, talk radio that you control. The only show where you can call in to talk about anything that's on your mind. That toll-free number is 855-450-3733. With you in the studio, it's Aria.
Hey, it's Ian.
And it's Vincent.
Welcome back to the studio, Vincent.
Thank you.
2020 has been a wild year, but I think Kanye West attempting to run for president may be the weirdest part of it. And I say this as, you know, the trans-Satanist sheriff candidate for the Republicans. I think Kanye West running is weirder.
Okay.
Mostly because of the context of his political ass. I mean, he's kind of a clown himself, right? I will always remember him as the guy who went out there and interrupted Taylor Swift.
Okay. This was like an awards ceremony thing?
Yeah, when she was receiving it, he just goes out there and talks about Beyonce having the best music video of all time. So it was just absolute lunacy, right?
But not George Bush doesn't care about black people. I'd say that was his greatest hit.
I don't remember that one.
You don't remember that? Oh, it was.
Oh, that was during Katrina, right?
Yeah, and he had Mike Myers right next to him, and he went off script and said that, and it's like it just looked so awkward. I didn't know what to say.
I think I do remember that. I don't remember the details. I'll have to pull that up during the break and watch it again. But yeah, so he's released a new political ad, and it's clean. We can play it. So we're going to go ahead and do that real quick to give you a better idea of exactly what type of person we're dealing with.
You might have unmuted the wrong.
What is America's destiny? What is best for our nation, our people? What is just, true justice? We have to think about all these things together as a people. To contemplate our future, to live up to our dream, we must have vision. We as a people will revive our nation's commitment to faith, to what our Constitution calls the free exercise of religion.
It's showing people
including,
praying.
of course, prayer.
And a Bible.
Through prayer, faith can be restored. We as a people are called to a greater purpose than ourselves. We are not only a beacon to the world, but we should be servants to each other, to encourage each other.
Can we
help
pause
each
this?
other,
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay. It's interesting. Now you're not getting to see the actual video, Vincent, from where you're sitting, but the camera angle they have on Kanye is like as though he's giving a speech outward. So he's not looking at the camera directly. He's not really delivering this message to the viewer as much as he's sort of, it looks like he might be on a stage somewhere talking to an audience. That's not where he is. He's clearly like in a studio delivering this speech. But I thought it was an interesting choice that they shot him from sort of down below and from the side rather than just straight on talking to the camera. Because usually if you want to like connect with your audience, it's best if you can actually make sort of eye contact. I think at least through the screen, just from a from a directorial standpoint, is an interesting choice.
To me, it sounds like every single politician's flowery language speeches all put into one.
Sure.
Like nothing of any substance, just a bunch of feel-good words
and
stock footage.
Our fellow Americans, that we may all prosper together. We have to act on faith with the sure knowledge that we are pursuing the right goals and doing the right things. We will build a stronger country by building stronger families. Families are the building blocks of society, of a nation. By turning to faith, we will be the kind of nation, the kind of people God intends us to be.
So he's a theocrat, it sounds like.
Well, I don't know, man. He did this like his career took a strange turn, I think, last year when he released like a Christian hip hop album or something.
Was this when he got called Yeezus or something like that? Isn't that his? Isn't that
he
his
referred
name?
to himself as such.
Yeah.
Or now he refers to himself as Yee.
Just Yeezus was too long. Just make it Yee.
I noticed that was like his Twitter handle was just Yee. Is that
or
that
Ye? Maybe Ye, right? Because Kanye, the Y-E at the end.
Good
so
point.
yeah, I don't know much about Kanye West as a person or even as an artist.
This is the most I've ever heard him ever. Like just what you just played. So I know almost nothing about him. I know he's done some kind of rap music, I guess. I couldn't tell you what his songs were.
I don't listen to rap, so
Wasn't Gold Digger? Was he Gold Digger?
I have no idea. you didn't see his rally from earlier this year?
I didn't. I missed that one.
Oh, I saw it, and he begins. I mean, it was something else. It was something else, and that's what everyone who went there said. It wasn't like any sort of rally ever where he's on the stage and he has he's wearing bulletproof armor, right? He's wearing a vest, and
he's really trusting in God.
And he he starts crying, talking about his experience as a father and such. And it was like in some of these churches, right, where people would just start spontaneously crying and things. It was sort of like one of these tent sort of
like
church
a revival.
A revival, thank you. Yeah,
tent revival.
Southern revival, yeah.
Ian, you were correct. Kanye West did, in fact, do Gold Digger.
That's the only one I know. I swear to you.
I mean, there may be others that we've heard here and there, but we don't know that it's him. I didn't know that was him. So, yeah, he's an interesting character. Of course,
he's crazy.
Yeah, he's crazy.
Well,
and those are interesting characters.
I would argue that, I mean, to us, right, to normal people, right, people outside of Hollywood and the music industry and, the ivory towers, he seems crazy. But considering, if you listen to some of the things he says and you consider the people he's around, right, just the absolute garbage, and he, the Kardashians, right, the family he married into, and in his Twitter rants, right, he called out Kris Jenner, who we call Kris Jong-un, and said that she was the sort of like the pimp.
Who's
of
Kris
the family.
Jenner?
It's the mother of the
Kim
Kardashian
Kardashian's
sisters.
mother?
Yeah,
Okay.
and they and before, right, earlier, I think it was over a year ago.
Bruce Jenner her father?
No, it was his name. Her biological father allegedly was Kardashian, who is the lawyer for Oj Simpson.
Interesting.
And so they tried to get him committed at one point, right? Where he, I think it was it was a while back, right? People haven't talked about it yet, but I think it's like in California, it's where I forget what it was called. He referred to it by a series of numbers where you could get someone involuntarily committed. And that's what I think in a
state
deleted
law, whatever the state law is.
And I think he deleted the tweet, but there was something going on there. So I mean, I think, and some people who follow the the elites, right, and the Hollywood elite and stuff, it makes sense for someone who decides to develop a conscience or just realize that it's a very sick and twisted culture and wants out of it. So I don't think he's as crazy. I mean, I think putting it in perspective, I don't think he's crazy.
I have to disagree. I think he's crazy. He may have, discovered this sick culture that he wants to not be part of, but I don't think that's the case. I think he's probably being cynical with this whole Christian rebranding as a way of making more money. I mean, it works. Christians buy stupid albums all the time simply because they're Christian bands.
Well, especially since he the first big Christian event he did was with Joel Osteen. Right, the biggest grifter in in this century.
Mega church.
Yeah, absolutely. With prosperity gospel,
Can you let our listeners know what the prosperity gospel is?
Oh, it's so worthless.
But it's common amongst the TV grifters, so people should know what it is.
My understanding of it is, and I grew up Catholic, so it's a different thing, right? We had collection baskets. It's where if you give a lot of money to the church and you believe in, if you believe in whatever the pastor is saying, then God is going to reward you. And nothing bad is ever going to happen. If anything ever bad happens to you, it's because you don't believe hard enough, or because you did something wrong. And
this is something like Osteen and others Osteen actually say is like, hey, give me money and believe in God, and nothing bad will ever happen to you.
Well, they say it with a little bit more eloquently than the way I tried to put it. But
yeah, they basically will, as I understand it. Again, I've only heard about this doctrine. What was it? Prosperity doctrine?
Prosperity gospel.
Prosperity gospel. The idea is that these people are on television. They're being beamed into all these homes, many of whom are like, trailer parks or wherever these people, they don't have a whole lot of money. But these guys will shake the last $10 out of these folks because they're told they have to give beyond whatever means they have, right? Like you should give your last few pennies basically to the church because it will come back to you. And there is something to be said for the sort of universal truth that what you put out there does, but that what you put out there does come back to you. But it's a pretty scummy thing for a guy with like boats and multiple cars and probably 10 houses to be demanding that people send him all of their money and promising that their life will just be wonderful after that.
I mean, so what are these pastors who preach this gospel actually put out there in order to get back? I mean, they're basically just asking for money, and they're telling other people, oh, well, if you give money, you'll get it back in the long run. What money are they giving?
Oh, well, I'm sure they would say they did this a long time ago. They don't have to do it. They're the pastor now. See, they're receiving on behalf of God.
Well, God needs to learn how to manage money then. What do you think? Does God need to learn how to manage money? 855-450-3733. This is Free Talk Live.
On a multidimensional probe, the Syscov Trans-Temporal Vehicle Clio discovers two entire universes have been annihilated in a massive time-traveling accident. Robert Kaminsky and his crew race home with the news, only to learn their own universe is next. To pull off the impossible, they'll have to embrace the unpalatable by placing their trust in the admin, Syscov's xenophobic sister universe, and the same people who tried to kill them all only months before. The Valkyrie Protocol by David Weber and Jacob Hollow. Available October 6th, wherever books are sold. Visit Bang at Bang.com for more.
Did you know you can support freedom of speech just by visiting shop.freetalklive.com? You'll see links to Walmart, Love Java, Newegg, and more. Every day, Free Talk Live is at the forefront of the liberty movement as the biggest liberty-oriented talk show in the world, giving you a platform to be heard on any topic. Get listener-only specials without doing anything other than an extra click. Visit shop.freetalklive.com. Use the links and buy what you'd be buying anyway. Take action now. Save and support freedom. Visit shop.freetalklive.com. It's shop.freetalklive.com.
News from news.bitcoin.com. Economist claims that value of US dollar will descend by 35% in the next year, and the dollar is the most overrated major currency in the world today. US Federal Reserve is actively working on turning the US dollar into a digital currency. Bitcoin set a new record for time above $10,000 in value. Bitcoin.com is your source for getting started with cryptocurrencies, getting a wallet, buying Bitcoin Cash, mining, and all the latest cryptocurrency news at news.bitcoin.com.
Want to accept Bitcoin at your online store? There's a good chance you already have what you need: a WordPress using WooCommerce and a Bitcoin address. Now all you need to start taking Bitcoin payments on your website is the AnyPay app on your Android or iPhone. Just paste your Bitcoin address into AnyPay, then connect it to your website with our one-click plugin for WordPress. Now your website takes Bitcoin, start to finish, in 15 minutes or less with no complicated steps. Download AnyPay from the App Store today.
The Shire Free Church offers a sanctuary to those seeking an escape from state churches.
The Shire Free Church is an interfaith, diverse group of people that may not share identical theological beliefs. As a member in or minister of the Shire Free Church, you are a sovereign individual and may be the faith of your choice.
We don't claim to have all of the answers.
We are open to all peaceful people.
We want to learn from each other.
What unifies the Shire Free Church and its diverse members is peace,
love, and liberty. There are many paths to God, one for every individual.
The Shire Free Church does not define a specific path beyond those parameters that must be your foundation.
Peace as your way,
love as your guide,
and liberty as your light.
Learn more at church.shiresociety.com.
That's church.shiresociety.com. Some of you asked, and now we've delivered. LRN.FM's live Keene, New Hampshire studio shows are now streamed in HD on Twitch. Visit our channel at twitch.lrn.fm and give it a follow. If you have Amazon Prime, you get one free subscription on Twitch. If you use it on our channel, Twitch will give LRN.FM a monthly piece of your Prime subscription cost. So please watch, follow, share, and subscribe to twitch.lrn.fm. That's twitch.lrn.fm.
Cell 411 is a free app for Android and iOS that replaces government-controlled 911. Cell 411 allows you to preset a group of friends or private organizations to show up at any emergency. Cell 411 is a nightmare for the state because it proves their so-called services aren't needed. Cell 411 has had thousands of installs, and of course it's covered by the BIPCOT no government license. Cell 411 because your friends won't shoot you when you're in trouble. Without the government, who would build the emergency services? You and Cell 411. Get it today at getcell411.com.
You're listening to the best liberty-oriented audio streamed around the clock, on the air, and online. This is the Liberty Radio Network at LRN.FM.
It's Free Talk Live, talk radio that you control. The only show where you can call in and talk about anything that's on your mind. That toll-free number is 855-450-3733. With you in the studio tonight is Aria, Vincent, and Ian. And you've heard us talk about Divi here on Free Talk Live. And maybe you wanted to set up one of their easy-to-deploy masternodes or stake Divi so that you can begin earning Divi right now. Well, Ian here has actually set up a Divi masternode. He says it was super easy and staking was even easier. Yep. We're not investment advisors here, but we think you'll be impressed with your earning potential with Divi as compared to traditional investment vehicles. Go to diviproject.org and get started. You can buy Divi at several exchanges or directly from the Divi team. Need help? There's a link to their Telegram channel right on the front page at diviproject.org. That's diviproject.org. We've got Dave from New Hampshire calling, if I can find the mouse. There we go. Dave, you're on Free Talk Live.
Hello?
Are you with us, Dave?
I am. Can you hear me?
Yeah, what's on your mind?
Hello?
Yes, we have you.
Oh, okay. You've heard me, I've called in about the Confucius Centers before, correct?
Confucius Centers?
Oh, I mean, there's probably people listening. I don't remember it, and there's probably people listening who weren't listening at that time. So what is a Confucius Center?
So these are educational institutes. Confucius Institutes is probably the accurate term. Confucius, there's a center for them, but most of them are called Confucius Institutes. They're basically Chinese government-funded organizations in the United States, and they exist on college campuses. There used to be about 75. I think the number's been whittled down because of, this is controversial, obviously. And there is one in New Hampshire.
All right.
Now, the thing that I have done is to think of these as take advantage of it as opposed to looking at it as a problem. Instead, take advantage of them being there. Right? During the Bosnian War, I would have loved to have had a Serbian consulate in my state in Kansas when I lived there, so that I could go there and engage with them and complain to them. Right? But now we have that basically in the form of the worst government on the face of the planet, the worst big government on the face of the planet, has placed basically what amount to consulates all over the country.
How new are these? How long has this been going on? Is this decades old or is this fairly recent?
It started in 2004.
Okay.
According to Wikipedia.
Correct.
Thank you.
That's what I would have said. And yeah, that's correct. So they've been around for a long time. But again, the Chinese government hasn't actually, it wasn't actually all that evil in 2004. It's what's been going on lately that's the problem. And so, anyway, what I felt that I should do about this was to maybe try and engage with the consulate. So I started writing I was going to try to make a speech in Mandarin and put it on camera and say it and deliver it to the people that work there, right? But my Mandarin is just not coming along fast enough, and this is not going to work. I couldn't find anyone to translate it for me.
Now, wait a minute. Is the Confucius, maybe I missed this detail, is the Confucius Institute, do they speak Mandarin, or are they like English-speaking young people who are living in the United States and working at these institutes at these colleges?
Well, I'm sure there are some young people. I look at if you look at the pictures at the one at UNH in Durham, they look like the age you would expect young professors to be. Some of them have been here for a while. Others are more, they're exchange people. I think there are 4 folks working there. I think it looks like 3 of the 4 are definitely from China. They're all.
So what message were you looking to deliver to these folks?
So I was going to just, make the pitch for leaving the Communist Party. They're probably not going to do it, but I can try. And so I have completed an English language version of a note that I guess I'm just going to email over there. I'm not going to try to finish the Mandarin thingy. It's just too complicated and too difficult, too easy to embarrass myself.
Sure. So, are you planning on releasing the text of this email or missive? Are you going to be reading that on RidleyReport.com, which is your YouTube channel, so people can know what you're going to say?
Yeah, so I'll make it an open letter. I'll probably submit it as maybe a letter to the editor in addition to sending it directly to the Institute and see where it goes from there.
And you're trying to essentially just persuade them to leave the Communist Party of China?
Yeah, why not?
Yeah, why not?
Let me know how it goes. It sounds like it'll be interesting, and definitely let us know if they respond, because you can email anyone about anything, but will they respond? That's where it really gets fun.
And you know this as a candidate for sheriff.
Yeah, that's why they won't respond to me, unfortunately. Unfortunate, but hey, it's not the only unfortunate thing going on in the world right now. German-style internet censorship catches on around the world, according to Reason.com, and you brought this story in. Yeah. Well, of course, we knew this was going to happen. Once one nation starts censoring people, the others go, hey, this is pretty good. We should do it as well.
Sure.
Do you want to take it?
I don't have it pulled up in front of me, but I did have that story as well.
It actually wasn't the one that I was trying to click on, but
what were you trying to click on?
I don't remember now. Well,
I know Vincent had an
The U.S. government got hacked. That was the one that I thought this was.
Oh, yeah. It probably happens all the time.
Yeah.
Vincent, can you tease the story you have tonight? Because he mentioned this last night on your show, Questioning Authority. Or is it called Questioning Authority?
It's called QA Live. It's shorter.
QA Live. Tease that one because.
There's a very valid concern that the quarantine camps in Canada are actually, in fact, concentration camps.
Really?
I didn't even know there were quarantine camps in Canada.
It sounds like what would be the difference between a quarantine camp and a concentration camp?
A quarantine camp is for when there's an actual deadly disease going around and people need to, sick people need to be kept together so they don't get other people sick. A concentration camp is what they put people into when there's a faked pandemic that's been released around the world just to take away what little rights we have left. That's the difference.
Well, it sounds to me like they would call it a quarantine camp in the beginning, and then later, once the war's over or whatever, people would call them concentration camps, right? Like, would the actual government call them concentration camps?
Of course not.
The U.S. government called them internment camps in the middle of World War II. Right. And now there's Fema camps that are supposed to exist.
They do exist. Our former co-host Vin Armani was placed in a Fema camp when he tried to move to Saipan earlier this year. It was a mandatory 14-day quarantine. They had taken over a hotel, like an empty hotel, gone out of business or something, and they were like serving up cold breakfast. So even the items that you would expect to be hot, like eggs or bacon or something like that, were just like cold on a tray.
Way.
Yeah,
really?
Yeah, it was like being in jail, but you were in a resort, basically, that you had to stay in your room 23 hours a day, just like, straight up lockdown in Seg. Then you got out 1 hour a day of yard time. No kidding. Really happened to Vin Armani.
I mean, when I was in jail, they at least gave us hot food. It wasn't good food, but it was hot.
You didn't get that in this quarantine camp, which was actually run by FEMA, or funded at the very least by FEMA. So it was a FEMA camp.
And this happened simply because he went to the Marianas Islands?
Yeah, during
mandatory.
COVID. It's probably still happening to people that go there.
Horrifying. Well, let's talk more about these concentration camps or quarantine camps in Canada. If you know about them, give us a call, 855-450-3733. This is Free Talk Live.
Divvy's been a pretty good investment for Free Talk Live. Their ad campaign started in September 2019, and from mid-March to mid-July, the values soared by 10 times. It's not too late. Divvy's new wallet hasn't even released yet, and other things are happening that I can't even say on the radio. If you want to invest and potentially do well, go to divvyproject.org. I can tell you that FTL is deepening its partnership with the guys from divvyproject.org. Past performance is not an indication of future profit. divvyproject.org. D-I-V-I project.org.
From New York Times and Wall Street Journal bestselling author Larry Correia comes the latest chapter in the epic military fantasy saga of The Forgotten Warrior, when the Grand Inquisitor perverts the law in his genocidal plot to kill every man, woman, and child in the untouchable cast. Only the traitor, Ashok Vadal, and the Sons of the Black Sword stand in his way. If it's war he wants, it is war he will get. Bain Books presents Destroyer of Worlds. Available September 1st, wherever books are sold. Visit monsterhunternation.com for more.
Why did you move to the Shire?
I moved here to the Shire because there's other people around who take liberty just as seriously as I do.
I moved to the Shire because I saw videos of people challenging authority and thought that I could get support myself. It called to me, like, do this, right now.
I wanted to be around people like me who got it, and once I got here, I knew there was nowhere else that I wanted to be.
I've always wanted to change the world, so I moved to the Shire to join people who were actually working towards doing the same thing.
The people here are awesome, loving, and positive. It was for the adventure and for the feeling of something important is happening here, and I just wanted to come to sort of be part of that.
Visit ShireSociety.com to read and sign the Shire Society Declaration and learn the reasons why, if you love liberty, you should immigrate to the Shire. Plus, connect with others via the forum at ShireSociety.com. That's ShireSociety.com. Are you a cryptocurrency advocate? The Crypto Tip is the ideal outreach tool to help new people discover cryptocurrency. It's a printable business card-sized tip that you can give to service providers, preferably in addition to a good cash tip. When the server scans the QR code, it'll bring up an explanation of cryptocurrency, how to install a wallet, and allow them to claim the tip. If they don't claim the crypto, you get your tip refunded to you after a time period you specify. Plus, if they do claim the tip, you get an email alert. Create as many tips as you want at cryptotip.org. That's cryptotip.org. So you've heard all 3 hours of the latest episode of Free Talk Live, and you're still hungry for liberty-oriented audio content? Did you know that we have another 24/7 audio stream at LRN.FM? The Liberty Radio Network airs the latest episodes of some of the best liberty-oriented podcasts on the internet around the clock. In addition to recorded content, you'll also hear live shows like Free Talk Live, originating from our Keene, New Hampshire studio. So listen anytime at LRN.FM. That's LRN.FM. LRN.FM's free-to-air satellite feeds blanket most of 2 continents. It was my goal to put our channel there so people without internet could receive our programs and feed pirate radio stations. As our contract with our satellite provider is coming up for another 3-year renewal, I have to consider calling it quits. It's rare that we get feedback or support from our satellite users. We started a fundraiser a few years ago, and though there are a bunch of great contributors to it, as of this recording, it covers 15% of our monthly satellite costs. Please email lrn@lrn.fm and tell me how you use the satellite feed. Better yet, chip in at fund.lrn.fm. The costs aren't the issue. We can afford them, but why continue something not valued by the market? Want to help? You can join our satellite fundraiser for just $2 a month at fund.lrn.fm. If we raise enough to keep both channels on the air, awesome. If we raise more, I'll add more channels. If not, we can shut them down and go internet only. It's up to you. Thank you for your support. Fund.lrn.fm.
Do you love Twitter? Make sure you favorite the LRN.FM Twitter account so you can receive our tweets at twitter.lrn.fm. That's twitter.lrn.fm.
It's Free Talk Live, talk radio that you control. You can call in and talk about anything that's on your mind. That toll-free number's 855-450-3733. With you in the studio, it's Aria, Vincent, and Ian. And of all the gaming companies out there, none of them seem to hate their fans as much as Nintendo. And I used to follow this a lot more closely back when I was actually like reviewing games regularly. A lot of them were Nintendo games because Nintendo makes stupid hardware, but they make really good games. And then they, force you to buy their hardware because they only release their games for their hardware instead of just doing this sensible thing like Sega did and just releasing them to whatever consoles people actually want.
And well, I mean, hold on. Sega was, and I like Sega, right? But Sega did that ultimately because their hardware experiment failed over time. Had they continued to have hardware that was incredibly successful like Nintendo's, they probably would have continued in the same vein as Nintendo. But now Sega's like, hey, cool, copy our stuff. We're cool. You can use our old ROMs. Hey, we're cool. We're cool, Sega. But I bet you they wouldn't have been as cool if they'd have stayed as valuable as Nintendo did.
Well, Nintendo's hardware isn't always successful. I mean, there was the Virtual Boy, the Wii U was a spectacular failure, and now every good game that ever existed on the Wii U is coming to the Switch anyway, so it's just a slap in the face to everyone who supported Nintendo and bought that piece of crap.
Well, I mean, they're happy to slap their fans in the face, as we'll find out here in just a moment. I don't want to make it sound like I'm defending Nintendo, and I'm glad Sega has had the change that they have. They become this sort of
Didn't they make the
company.
Dreamcast software open source, or like they
may have
made
recently.
something
I don't know.
source.
That wouldn't surprise me because they've gone in that sort of we're cool open source, share our stuff direction, and I'm happy about that ultimately. But it was likely the circumstances that required that of them in order to continue surviving. I mean, the Atari brand is almost completely dead at this point. Did you hear that Atari is now launching like a cryptocurrency? Did you see those headlines?
No, but I'm not surprised. I mean, there's a cryptocurrency, quote, backed by bacon out there. So, I mean, of course, Atari would have one.
Would be Custer Coin.
But like Atari doesn't exist in any meaningful form. It's just like this logo and this brand that somebody bought. Just like somebody bought the Blockbuster video brand and applied it to some website after the fact. Somebody bought Circuit City and applied that to a website where they're selling electronics. It has nothing to do with the original Circuit City, and this new Atari has nothing to do with the original Atari. But somebody's got the brand, so...
Well, perhaps now, but they did have the intellectual property rights to remake some of these games, and they tried to remake Asteroids, I think, during the PS3 360 era. They did a remake Alone in the Dark and a few others. They were all absolutely terrible.
The remakes were terrible.
Oh, yeah, of course they were. Because, I mean... they don't know what they're doing anymore, and that's why they went bankrupt in the first place and had to get sold out to a company that now has absolutely nothing to do with the people who made the 2600.
Well, Sega managed to pivot in enough time, right? So Sega, for listeners that aren't familiar, they had a tremendous hit with the Sega Genesis, and then after that, they never had another hit. The Sega Saturn didn't go anywhere. It was basically dead in the water. It didn't last for long at all. Didn't sell many units. The Sega CD, also a failure, which came before the Saturn, and then the Dreamcast. Even though it was a wonderful piece of hardware with great games, it didn't make it. And so they failed too many times in a row on hardware, right? Because it costs a ton of money to develop one of these hardware systems. And then usually when they sell them at either break even or maybe even a slight loss if it's a real competitive market. Like if they're going head to head with Nintendo as they were in the past. Of course, the late 90s, they were going head to head with Sony, which was a totally new competitor.
Yeah, Sony crushed them all.
Yeah, and so they got their ass handed to them, and they're in however deep they were on developing this hardware that never moved off the shelves in any meaningful sense. So they just couldn't come back from that. They had some amazing software brands, and they managed to kind of pivot into that and sort of keep above water. But it never really felt like Sega did much more than just kind of like tread water after that. They've come out with some new properties since then, but.
Sure, I think they did Bayonetta.
They're a shadow of their former self.
Oh, well, yeah. I mean, things definitely changed. Nintendo is a shadow of their former self, realistically.
What do you mean by that? Because they're selling huge numbers.
Well, I mean, they used to be synonymous with gaming.
Sure.
I mean, people say, I have a Nintendo to mean I have a video game console, right?
That's true, like Kleenex.
Yeah, and Xeroxes and that kind of thing. And now it's like, oh, no, a Nintendo console is a unique animal at this point. And they're so tied to exclusive gaming consoles that don't do anything else that they've cursed themselves. Would anyone out there take the Nintendo cell phone seriously?
Is there such a thing?
No, but if they released one, would you take it seriously, or would you be like, okay, this is going to be garbage? What are they even doing? It's not going to be a fully functioning cell phone.
Well, what was Nintendo's last major new what do they call it, intellectual property? Like what was its newest like game release or franchise or whatever?
I think probably Animal Crossing.
Oh, I know a bunch of white girls who are into that.
Yeah, but that was a huge game this year, right?
And it still is, as far as I know. I mean, they do have really good intellectual properties, but it's all tied to their stupid hardware. And they got lucky with the Switch. It's great. I have a Switch. I also have a Wii U because, there are 2 Wii U games that they're evidently not going to release on the Switch.
Well, and did Nintendo ever have any good multiplayer? Because now, like, they're saying the future of gaming's in multiplayer, where like you have.
Did.
I've never
some of the
heard
most popular multiplayer games, and I mean, I'm not even on top of things these days, but they keep remaking the same ones because they're so popular.
For local multiplayer, no one beats Nintendo.
Super Mario Kart. That's how many of those have there been? 10 iterations, or
there are
at least 8. I mean, that's a ton.
Well, I'm talking about like multiplayer, like what was it, Fortnite, PUBG, GTA Live. Like that's what people are playing.
You
now.
mean like massive multiplayer? You're not talking about just playing.
They popularized it in a huge sense onto consoles with the release of GoldenEye 64.
Sure.
Yeah, but that was in the past. We're talking about Nintendo now.
Well, now they're all about the local multiplayer experience. They want people to come over to your house and sit in your living room and play video games with you.
Now?
Yes.
Really?
I mean, they're terrible with online gaming.
And that's why they're not the household name in gaming anymore.
That's interesting.
Well, they are. Super Smash Brothers is probably the most popular fighting game in the world. And that's Nintendo.
Okay, all right.
But it's not because they want you to play online. There is an online system.
Right?
Yeah, but they want your friends to come over and play with you.
They're not marketing that anymore. Not with COVID.
Well, probably not at the moment, no. But that's what all the commercials are for Nintendo. It's a family or a bunch of friends sitting around on a couch playing a Nintendo game.
I haven't seen a Nintendo commercial probably in 2 decades. I mean, I don't know what they look like.
I only do because I watch a lot of gaming YouTube stuff.
I see.
And that tends to be what they talk about. But they do hate their fans.
They are just absolutely awful. And there are so many stories that are very similar to the one you're about to share.
They had initially this Nintendo Creators Program where you had to sign up and, bow to Nintendo and allow them to authorize certain videos. And then you could keep, I think, 30% of your ad revenue on your YouTube videos. And they would be generous enough to let you have that. Otherwise, they were just going to Content ID you and take all of the money. A lot of people stopped reviewing Nintendo games entirely because of that.
Yeah, I was going to say, what does it mean to be a Nintendo creator?
Well, as someone who creates content on YouTube or Twitch using Nintendo games.
Based on Nintendo properties.
Yeah.
isn't it legal to show video games?
It's really a gray area right now
because
of the music being copyrighted. But see, the way I see it is, it's software that you're using you're giving it input and it's creating specific output. Right. Just like Microsoft Word, you're giving it input and it's turning that into specific output there on the screen.
Yeah.
So I don't see it as being owned. The user is playing that. It's the user's creation. But Nintendo disagrees, and their lawyers disagree.
But have they sued Twitch? Because, I mean, Twitch has made billions off of people streaming video games, including Nintendo. I'm pretty sure Amazon has had their lawyers look at this one, and I think that the Amazon attorneys agree with you, Arya, and that is that this is completely legal. This is fair use, essentially. You know, one of the things you can do with fair use is like the MST3K, Mystery Science Theater 3000, where they play a full movie. And there's people who sit in front of the screen and they heckle the movie during the movie, right? So that's what that is, and supposedly
that would be protected under the grounds of review,
fair
commentary purposes,
and commentary, and that's what the Twitch games are. They're commenting on the games.
That's true.
But
I don't know.
That didn't save this girl that you're going to get into.
Of course, they don't sue Twitch and they don't sue YouTube. they instead sue the random gamers who become popular on these platforms because that makes it so much easier for them.
By the way, still to come the story that Vincent has. We're going to get to that later. So
855-450-3733. That's 855-450-FREE as in freedom.
What if you could cut your heating bills this winter with your existing wood-burning fireplace and not spend thousands doing it? You can with Great Wall of Fire fireplace grates. Our U.S. patented made-in-America Wall of Fire grates increase fireplace efficiency, eliminate fireplace smoke problems, and come with a 30-day money-back guarantee. See our grates in action and get free shipping from walloffire.com or call 800-274-7364. Fireplace heat without fireplace smoke. walloffire.com.
Are you ready for what's next? It's likely coming. More food shortages, power outages, grocery stores closed, social unrest. Ask yourself, do you have enough food and supplies on hand to last at least 30 days? Most Americans do not, but you can. Avoid the panic of the last-minute rush. Order your 4-week supply of emergency food today from mypatriotsupply.com. Starvation or dependency on the government are your only alternatives. Avoid those and the pain of being unprepared. Go to mypatriotsupply.com right now. Build your emergency food supply with meals that last up to 25 years in storage, shipped discreetly to your door. Folks that know what's coming are using today to prepare. There's time for you to do the same. That's mypatriotsupply.com, the original Patriot Preparedness Company. mypatriotsupply.com.
Silver has always been nature's very own antibiotic, and only one system allows you to generate an endless supply of natural silver solutions. SilverLungs.com. You'll find no wild claims or pseudoscience, just a lifetime of nano-sized pure silver solutions. The Silver Lungs generator allows you to make your own, so stop paying for silver solutions. The unique lung delivery system targets respiratory infections where other silver solutions simply cannot reach. See the Silver Lungs generator and lung delivery system at SilverLungs.com. That's SilverLungs.com.
So the protection of life, liberty, and property is what the Free State Project is all about. But it's an effort to move 20,000 people who understand.
It's about demonstrating to the entire country
that, yeah, we can have a free market, a truly free market.
Making it just a freer, great place to live.
It's the world's largest voluntarist libertarian community, and it's only getting bigger.
That's amazing, to be able to move to a place where other people passionately believe in being free and independent.
What the Free State Project is managing to do, though, is to put their money where their mouth is. It's physically getting up across the country and saying, let's go someplace and let's demonstrate the power of these ideas. There's a lot of kind of philosophy that surrounds liberty. There's a lot of thinking about it and talking about it. But here in New Hampshire, people are doing it.
101 Reasons Liberty Lives in New Hampshire, a documentary by Free State Project Early Movers. Watch it free at 101reasonsfilm.com. 101reasonsfilm.com. If you want to know the latest about Free Talk Live before we go on the air, all you need to decide is how you want it delivered. It's your choice. Visit news.freetalklive.com to receive our usually weekly news updates by email. Plus, we have a Twitter account at twitter.freetalklive.com, and you can follow us on the decentralized Mastodon platform at toot.freetalklive.com. So please follow us at toot.freetalklive.com and sign up for our emails at news.freetalklive.com. Do you have a WordPress website running WooCommerce and want to accept cryptocurrencies like Bitcoin, Dash, Bitcoin Cash, and Bitcoin SV? Now you can easily enable crypto payments from your customers by adding the AnyPay plugin to your WordPress site. Just visit anypayinc.com and set up your account by entering your cryptocurrency wallet addresses in the admin. Then enable the AnyPay plugin in your WooCommerce. That's it. Now your website takes crypto like Bitcoin thanks to anypayinc.com. anypayinc.com.
You can put the Liberty Radio Network on the air in your area. Visit broadcast.lrn.fm to learn how. Broadcast.lrn.fm.
It's Free Talk Live, talk radio that you control. You can call in and talk about anything that's on your mind. That toll-free number is 855-450-3733. With you in the studio, it's Aria, Ian, and Vincent. And we're talking about Nintendo here, who has sued a popular TikToker and Twitch streamer, formerly known as Poke Princess. I assume that's how I'm going to pronounce it. Forcing her to completely rebrand. Now, obviously, as we've been talking about, Nintendo has a reputation for aggressively protecting its intellectual property, acting swiftly to take down fan projects like Pokemon Uranium and Super Mario Bros. Battle Royale game. Well, that was because they wanted to make their own Battle Royale that they called Super Mario 35 and that just released a week or two ago.
Oh, see, Vincent was just saying that they don't make big multiplayer games.
I'm saying new things, right? Not just recycling the same intellectual property.
Oh, you mean, okay, because it's got Super Mario in front of it. That doesn't count. Okay.
Well, it's literally the original Mario Brothers that as other people play it and they defeat enemies, those defeated enemies enter your game. So you can end up with, just
a
constant,
bunch of...
like hundreds of enemies on the screen trying to kill you kind of thing.
Huh.
So, I mean, it looks fascinating, but it is just a twist on the original Mario Brothers.
Huh. So tell us more about this chick.
Yeah. So she has 1.9 million TikTok followers. That number doesn't mean much to me because I don't know anything about TikTok. My sister has a few thousand herself, and she doesn't really create anything of consequence, so it can't be hard.
No, it isn't. It is. I know people who have tens of thousands of views on one video, and then the next it's just 500. It varies.
Well, but she's got 1.9 million followers. That's going to result
different
in
from views. Yeah.
Quite a few views.
And she's also got an extensive following on Twitch, although it doesn't specify how many that would be. However, she can no longer go by the name Poke Princess and is now known online as Digital Princess instead. In a recent YouTube video, the TikTok star, formerly known as Poke Princess, explained the situation, revealing why Nintendo sued her and forced her to rebrand. And fair warning, the summary is because she also does porn. That's the reason why.
You think so?
Yeah. Well, Nintendo doesn't want to associate with that, right? But I mean, they don't own the word poke.
I wouldn't think so.
Or the prefix poke.
Yeah.
Well, so you know what it stands for, right? It's like Pocket Monster.
Yeah. The Poke Princess name is directly inspired by the Pokemon franchise, with the content creator, now known as Digital Princess, also covered in tattoos of various Pokemon. Capitalizing on her TikTok fame, Poke Princess began selling merchandise based on her online identity, like many popular creators on the app do, and she also trademarked her username through the LegalZoom site. So I have to warn her here, if you play their stupid IP game, expect it to be used against you.
Mm-hmm. This is just what people are told, right? Well, you got to trademark yourself. And so she did. But ultimately she was, and we haven't seen her gear, right? So what does the T-shirt look like? Is it using, Nintendo's iconography? Does it have a photograph of, you've seen this?
Well, that's the very next paragraph.
Okay.
With the name clearly inspired by the Pokemon franchise, Poke Princess created merchandise that featured Pokemon imagery like Pokeballs, for instance.
Yeah, okay. Now she's
Well,
She's definitely
that
treading
ball is pretty iconic for the series.
Yeah, well, right. She's definitely treading into intellectual property violations here at this point. Because, again, if it had just been Nintendo coming after her for sharing the video games, I don't think they would have had a leg to stand on, or doing videos of her playing. I don't think they would have had a leg to stand on. But if she's taking their copyrighted artwork and she is, putting that on her T-shirts and making money off of it, it's speculation to say that, oh, well, she's in porn, so therefore that's why they did this.
True.
If she was making money off of Nintendo, that's why they went after her. That's why.
We don't know how long ago how long she's been doing this either.
True.
So
we're not her fans.
She says, I was young and dumb, and I was just going full force with it because I didn't know what I was doing was wrong, she explained. She believed that using...
Well, it wasn't wrong.
No, it absolutely wasn't. It was just illegal.
Yeah, right.
Or frowned upon by the state.
Well, yeah, and people have a huge problem with conflating one with the other. They think that whatever is illegal is also wrong, and history doesn't show that to be true, right? So, like, slavery was legal. Does that make it right? No. So therefore, things that are illegal are also not necessarily wrong, like, deciding to grow marijuana, for instance, or whatever. But some people really believe that just because some politicians wrote some crap down and agreed on a thing, that makes an act wrong. And
well, it's because they're authoritarians. They believe it's morally right to obey.
Well, I don't know what she believes as far as whether she's an authoritarian or not. I mean, I don't think that the people
I don't
who
mean
obey,
just her, but I mean that's a widely held view. Like the guy who shot up the theater several years ago. I don't remember exactly what his name was. I think it was
Joker?
in Aurora, Colorado.
Yeah.
I've seen people argue that he could not have been a sociopath. He could not have been a psychopath because he didn't run stop signs on the way to the theater, and therefore he knew the difference between morally right and morally wrong. And
ridiculous argument.
It is, because there's nothing morally wrong about running a stop sign.
No, and further, if your goal is to commit some sort of heinous act, you don't want to get pulled over on the way to commit the heinous act with your, a machine gun or whatever in your trunk.
Also true. But the point is that, people do confuse morality with legality all the time.
All the time, including the people who are guilty within the system of non-crimes. I saw it when I was in jail for civil disobedience. I saw guys in there, essentially punishing themselves, acting as though they had done something wrong when all they did was, sell some marijuana or whatever. So they were like self-flagellating over this, basically. It was sad.
It's tragic. Well, she thought that what she was doing would fall under fair use as parody. And she saw many other people selling Pokemon content like fan art online. But she wasn't selling fan art. She was...
Because fan art, that's modified. So she could sell it under fair use. Yeah, if it was...
But then 2 months ago, she received an email from LegalZoom explaining that she had been issued a cease and desist by Nintendo. It seems Nintendo did not want people to think that she was affiliated with the company, as Poke Princess also works in the adult entertainment industry.
Now, maybe they actually specifically said that, but that's not made clear by this story. And your point about LegalZoom is interesting, because if she hadn't have registered with LegalZoom, then Nintendo would have had to send her the thing directly. They'd have to figure out who she was and spend all that time. Instead, they just went to LegalZoom, and LegalZoom did all the work for them. LegalZoom essentially was the conduit.
I kind of want to sell T-shirts with Pokeballs on them now to see what happens.
Yeah, I'm looking at some of her merchandise, and that's what it was. It either had like a Pokeball on. It either had a Pokeball on the front, or like it had a Pokemon Mew on the back.
And she thought Nintendo wouldn't come after her for this?
Yeah, I'm surprised.
Does it look like original artwork though?
No, absolutely not. It's
an actual straight up Nintendo graphics.
Well, I mean, the Pokemon is, yeah. I don't know about the background. I know very little about Pokemon. Yeah, I'm surprised that no one told her that this was a bad idea.
That's also a good point. Consult with your friends and families before doing these sorts of wild endeavors. So she hired a lawyer who helped her resolve the issue with Nintendo, as well as assist her in the rebranding process. Some fans asked why she couldn't just change the spelling to Pokey with an I or something similar. I don't understand why she had to change her name in the first place. Nintendo doesn't own the phrase Poke. They may own the phrase Pokemon, but they certainly don't own the letters P-O-K-E. That's a word in English that is typically pronounced poke.
I wonder what she paid this attorney to give her a good pokeing. Because, man, I suspect he got paid real well to kind of hold her hand through this just ramrodding by Nintendo, essentially, where she gave up everything. So they negotiated, and it sounds like she didn't get anything.
No, because she should have been able to keep the word poke, right?
She should have.
That's a given. But she explained that having anything that even looked like it could be related to Pokemon in her name could get her in more legal trouble with Nintendo. So Nintendo had her bent over.
Yeah.
And her attorney did nothing to help.
What's he going to do?
He said, just bend over and take it and hope that it ends soon. And she said, thanks, here's some money.
Yeah, he just cashed the check and, held her hand through this, basically. That's all that he did.
She mustn't have made that much money off of merch if she couldn't hire a better lawyer.
She also noted that she was...
Hold on. Can you hire a better lawyer than Nintendo?
Oh, I guess
by selling some T-shirts.
No.
You'd have to sell a metric butt ton of T-shirts.
She also noted that she was unsure why there were some people with Poki, P-O-K-I, in their name that make money from it and don't get in trouble. Perhaps referring to popular Twitch streamer Pokimane, though that wasn't specified.
I only know who Pokimane is because somebody called in one night pretending to be her.
I don't know who Pokimane is.
You're right. I wouldn't have known otherwise. She's just another one of these, Twitch girls that plays video games online. Pokimane, very, very popular Twitch person. Maybe the difference is she's not marketing, Nintendo graphics and selling those. I'm just going to guess.
This is where I have to give the angry video game nerd a lot of credit. He was initially the angry Nintendo nerd, and then he realized,
true.
Going forward that was going to create massive problems for him. So within like 15 or 16 episodes, he had changed it to the angry video game nerd.
He deserves a lot of credit. That guy's great. Yeah, I've enjoyed his stuff for a decade.
Oh, man, I love every single one of his gaming reviews. 855-450-3733. It's Free Talk Live.
Join liberty-minded voluntarists, anarchists, and libertarians from June 28th through July 4th for ForkFest 2021 at Rogers Campground in the beautiful White Mountains of New Hampshire. ForkFest happens the week after the Porcupine Freedom Festival, and ForkFest is decentralized, which means no one is in charge. That also means there's no ticket cost. Just reserve your camping, RV site, or motel room with Rogers Campground for June 28th through July 4th. Where better to celebrate Independence Day than around other freedom-loving activists in the Shire? You can relax and enjoy the camaraderie of like-minded people, or you can create whatever experience or event you'd like others to have. If you're planning an event for ForkFest, be sure to let others know in advance. You can connect with fellow ForkFesters via the unofficial Telegram chat or the ForkFest forum. Links to those are on the unofficial website, forkfest.party. Mark your calendar for June 28th through July 4th, 2021. We'll see you at forkfest.party.
My name is Jacob Hornberger. I'm president of the Future of Freedom Foundation, which Congressman Ron Paul awarded for having an outstanding freedom website. Write us at fff@fff.org, and we'll send you a free 3-month subscription to our monthly journal of libertarian essays and our booklet, Economic Liberty in the Constitution, which George Mason University economics professor Walter Williams praised in a recent column. That's fff@fff.org.
The LRN.FM's social media channels have been revamped. We've eliminated Facebook and focused on other platforms like Twitter and Mastodon, the decentralized alternative to Twitter. On our accounts, you'll find posts from multiple LRN.FM show hosts together in one place. Follow us on Twitter at twitter.lrn.fm, or better yet, move to the decentralized Mastodon social media platform at toot.lrn.fm, toot.lrn.fm. I think you'll like it.
You're listening to the live edition of Free Talk Live. Hour number 2 is next after the news here on the Liberty Radio Network at LRN.FM.
She says she has no agenda. I'm Lisa Lacera, Fox News. President Trump's choice for the Supreme Court Judge Amy Coney Barrett telling the Senate Judiciary Committee it's not a foregone conclusion that she will look to overturn the Affordable Care Act. Some Democrats have expressed concerns it would be struck down.
I have no hostility to the ACA, and if a case came up before me presenting a different question to the ACA, I would approach it with no bias or hostility. I also have said at earlier points in this hearing that the exercise of being a commentator, an academic, is much different than the enterprise of judging.
And Judge Barrett was asked if her family and faith impact her decisions on the bench.
Sometimes you have to decide cases in ways where you don't like the result. So while I hope that my family has made me a better person, and my children definitely have given me new perspectives on life, I still, in applying the law and deciding cases, don't let those experiences dictate the outcome.
The hearing will continue for the next couple hours. The Supreme Court has stopped the census from continuing through the end of this month. The Trump administration had asked the court to suspend a lower court's order permitting the census to continue through the end of this month. Justice Sonia Sotomayor dissented, writing, "Meeting the deadline at the expense of the accuracy of the census is not a cost worth paying." Both presidential candidates back on the campaign trail today, with former Vice President Joe Biden focusing on Florida, speaking to seniors in Pembroke Pines, telling them President Trump doesn't care about Americans.
He turned his back on small businesses that are struggling to keep their doors open. He turned his back on firefighters and police officers and first responders who depend on local budgets, but local budgets are being broken and they have to be balanced.
The president set to hold a rally in Johnstown, Pennsylvania this hour. He was in Florida yesterday. America is listening to Fox News.
For over 20 years, millions of customers have trusted Blinds.com to update their homes. Because Blinds.com makes it easy to get custom blinds that'll give your windows a high-end look without the high-end price. Whether you like to DIY, need design help, or prefer measure and install services, they do it all with easy online ordering and free shipping right to your door. If you're unsure, know that Blinds.com has over 30,000 5-star customer reviews, and they guarantee the perfect fit for your windows, whether you do it yourself or have them measure and install everything for you.
Right now, shop Blinds.com's annual Friends and Family Sale right from home with easy online ordering and free shipping right to your door. You'll save up to 40% on everything through October 13th. Blinds, shades, interior shutters, and more. Plus, pay over 24 months at 0% APR on qualifying purchases with PayPal Credit Easy Payments. Ends January 31st, 2021. As of September 1st, 2020, new PayPal credit accounts have a variable purchase APR of 23.99% that will vary with the market based on the prime rate. Minimum interest charge is $2, subject to credit approval. Visit Blinds.com/PayPal. Other rules and restrictions may apply.
Members of an anti-government militia who were arrested in a failed plot to kidnap the governor of Michigan ordered held without bond. An FBI agent says they also talked about abducting the governor of Virginia. The information came out in a court hearing for some of the men involved in the Michigan plot, though one official said Virginia Governor Ralph Northam was not briefed on the threat. 13 men were arrested last week in Michigan in what authorities say was a plan to kidnap Governor Gretchen Whitmer at her vacation home. They say the motive for the plot was Whitmer's strict coronavirus lockdowns in the early stages of the pandemic. The European Union trying to avoid a repeat of coronavirus lockdowns, which resulted in some countries closing their borders.
When the coronavirus began spreading through Europe in the spring, several countries were quick to close their borders. Now the European Union says its 27 member states have agreed a set of guidelines aimed at avoiding a repeat. A central office is to track COVID-19 data, and anyone travelling to or from a region rated low risk.
If you're looking for work, or even if you're not, here's an innocent mistake you really want to avoid. Never return calls before listening to your voicemail. Your wireless phone sends calls you didn't answer into voicemail, and it shows you phone numbers for calls you missed. Important. Don't call back callers you missed until you have first listened to your messages. Otherwise, you frustrate people who bothered to leave messages by asking them to repeat a message they just left as your voicemail greeting instructed them to. If you're a job applicant, this alone could be a deal killer. And even if you're not, there are few things you can convey to someone that are as fundamentally maddening as, "I didn't hear you." With money and attention so scarce now, effective communication skills have never been more important. For more tips for job seekers and everyone else, hit survivalspeech.com. I'm Holland Cook.
This is the Onion Week in Review. According to sources, all 6.5 million residents of Indiana spontaneously formed thousands of perfectly uniform rows throughout the state Monday morning and established a collective consciousness. Saying, "We are Indiana," the new hive mind talked and moved in unison, with citizens working together to build a massive geometric superstructure in downtown Indianapolis where they would gather to sleep, breed, and feed.
All the corns for Indiana. All the corns for Indiana.
The collective state went on to report that soon Ohio, Illinois, Michigan, Kentucky, and Canada would all become Indiana. Persons close to Phoenix area friends Jake Welter and Mike Seflin confirmed Friday that the two men are absolutely incapable of greeting each other like normal human beings. Sources say the two full-grown men simply cannot walk into a room and shake each other's hands, relying instead on elaborate dances, forced pop culture references, and extended fake fighting. Neither Welter nor Seflin was available for comment as they were busy pretending to rip each other's faces off.
Free Talk Live.
It's Free Talk Live, talk radio that you control. You can call in and talk about anything that's on your mind. That toll-free number is 855-450-3733. With you in the studio tonight, it's Aria.
And Ian.
And Vincent.
And we're talking about Poke Princess, or the artist formerly known as Poke Princess, because now she's called Digital Princess, and we really underestimated to the extent her lawyer let her get railed by Nintendo. She says, I notice also that this article continually refers to her as Poke Princess, despite how she changed her name to Digital Princess. So it goes on to say, Poke Princess believes that she may have gotten Nintendo's attention because of her work in the adult film industry, the trademark she filed for the name, and for selling merchandise with Pokemon imagery. Ultimately, she had to pay Nintendo all of the money she made from merchandise sales and is now going by Digital Princess Online. So she lost every single penny. Presumably, most of her income was from merchandise sales. I can't imagine she was making that much from ad revenue or whatever it is that, she was using to make money on TikTok.
I don't know if you can make money on TikTok.
I don't either.
I think that...
Other than plugging your merchandise?
Yeah, I think that's all you can do, is you get sponsorships.
Some fans have pointed out that Digital Princess could get her in trouble because some may associate it with Pokemon rival Digimon. But according to her Twitter, she's confident that she won't have any legal trouble with Digimon, as none of her content or her brand has anything to do with the Digimon franchise. I don't know anything about Digimon. Do either of you?
I just know it's the sort of the GoBots to the equivalent.
Good way to put it.
For listeners that aren't familiar, in the 1980s, the Transformers were a huge brand, still are, and there was GoBots, which was... I don't even remember the company that was behind it. They were trying to compete with Transformers. They were robots that transformed. I'm sure they call it something else.
Sure.
Shifting or whatever they called it. I don't remember. But they actually had a cartoon as well. They had a GoBots cartoon. And I think Digimon also had a cartoon. So it's kind of like, the poor man's Pokemon. I mean, it might be better than Pokemon.
Right.
I don't know.
I get what you're saying.
I've never played either of them.
But it's a knockoff of the original.
I presume. And for all I know, it came first, and Nintendo knocked them off. I honestly don't know. I'm the wrong person to ask these questions.
I don't know the answer to those either. So she stresses at the end of her video that she has no hard feelings for Nintendo. I don't know how she could possibly not have hard feelings for Nintendo, just basically nuking her career and taking all of her money from her. But she doesn't. While it is upsetting to her that she was sued by a company that was such a big part of her childhood, she insists that she will continue supporting Nintendo, saying, I'll give my soul to Nintendo. After watching this video, go buy a Switch or something. So she evidently, it's just like you were talking about earlier with the people in jail beating themselves up for having done something bad.
Yeah.
She still supports this company that just railed her, and her attorney, based on what I've read here, did absolutely nothing to help her.
He loves me. I can't leave him.
Yeah, that's essentially what she's saying about Nintendo. And they're not the only people recently targeted by Nintendo. Nintendo lawyers hit fan-made Zelda game with a fatal copyright claim. Nintendo's legal team has swooped in once again, filing a copyright claim on a fan-made Legend of Zelda game, which has forced the project to be entirely delisted. Well-known modder Kaze Emanuar, who has been releasing a number of unofficial Nintendo-based projects over the last few years, launched a title called The Missing Link earlier this year. It made use of the very same engine from The Legend of Zelda Ocarina of Time and aimed to bridge the gap between Ocarina and the other N64 title, Zelda Majora's Mask. Now, aren't mods 100% protected under copyright law?
Not always.
Was that what this was?
Well, essentially, he took, the assets from the game and he used the game engine. Well, yeah, that's probably not licensed. But what would be the difference? To what extent can you mod a game and it be legal and just remake the game entirely?
You can't make any money off of it. There are like some total reworking mods of like a Mountain Blade Warband, right? And these just amazing mods, but they don't make any money off of it. They have to release it for free, and they can't use anything else copyrighted. So like, Mountain Blade Warband, they had the Last Days of a Third Age mod, which turned the whole medieval thing into a Lord of the Rings theme, and it was essentially a new game in and of itself, but they don't have any of the music, right? No, the mod makers had to compose all of their own music for it. So it's just their own music, their own assets, and the game's assets.
And I'm curious because modding is a huge part of the PC gaming community.
It is, and that may be another issue here, right? Like some game companies have the vision to understand, like Sega or others, Bethesda or whatever.
Prior to being purchased by Microsoft, it's no telling what they believe now.
Hold on, Bethesda or Sega?
Bethesda.
Okay, yeah, I heard that news. I hadn't heard that Sega was bought
yet.
It's
bad news. It's bad news
really
for
bad
gaming,
because
man.
Bethesda was bad as it was, in certain ways.
They made good games, but they made broken games.
Yes, they did.
But they were very
wonderful games.
They were very open with their community. Right. I got the Skyrim Special Edition for free simply because I had the Legendary Edition of the original Skyrim. That's not going to happen under Microsoft's ownership.
Yeah. It's if they do anything like they did with Skype, they're going to take their intellectual property and just basically tear them up and make them worthless, or make them crap.
Well, that's what all video game companies do. I mean, that's what EA has been doing since its entire existence. Origin created Ultima, which was one of the biggest RPGs ever.
Yeah.
It was
Huge
the first
series.
MMO.
Yeah,
and
before that, there were like 10 different Ultima games. Were there not?
I think there were 9.
Yeah, there was a lot.
And then Origin, the company that produced all of these games or developed all of these games, just became this crappy Steam clone that EA owned, and then they killed
Shut
that.
it down. So to go back to the modification question, it was in the mid-90s, I think, really in my experience, it was Doom that was the first game that really kind of welcomed this.
I knew it was Doom or Quake. I didn't remember which one.
It was Doom. There were all kinds of user-made levels, and this was back before the internet, where these things were being uploaded to bulletin board systems on local, dial-up, basically. And since then, a lot of companies embraced this. They said, this is a way for our games to have a lifespan that would be longer than it otherwise would be, because these essentially is allowing their fans to breathe new life into these games, to give the gamers an excuse to continue playing them, continue loving them, and crafting for them and creating for them and making their worlds bigger and more interesting.
That bothers modern game publishers.
Nintendo hates it. So
they want you to continue paying for the game, and I think it was the CEO of Bethesda was talking about this in regard to Skyrim. He was like, we missed a huge opportunity here. People bought Skyrim, they're still playing it now 7 or 8 years later,
right? And
we're not making any money off of that. So no, I already bought your stupid game.
We need microtransactions.
Yes, and more DLC. And more season passes.
All stuff that should have been in the game in the first place.
That's right.
Absolutely, I oppose all of that crap.
Right.
If a game even has microtransactions, I won't play it any longer.
Right. Well, so Bethesda, they sort of adopted this what was it? They bought the at some point, I don't remember when it was, but they bought like Doom.
Yeah.
Doom wasn't Bethesda
They bought its
originally.
software, I think.
Yeah. And I don't remember, was it Bethesda originally Bethesda did own the Elder Scrolls series, right?
They still do.
Yeah. But back in the day, they were a different company than than they are now. And so they sort of inherited this user community. And so I don't think they totally wanted to alienate them and say, you shall not make any more mods for whatever game comes next after Skyrim. I don't think they're going to be able to get away with that because they know their community would completely abandon them. I mean, if I don't know what percentage of Skyrim players ever adds a mod to it, but it's significant enough. It's a significant enough. Well, the consoles probably not as much, but it's a significant enough percentage to where they're not going to mess with that. But the Nintendo, they've always been at odds with their fans over these sorts of things, using graphics, using icons or whatever, and they just don't have that view. I just don't think they have that viewpoint. No, so they'll sue you.
They sued Project M and shut them down. And for those who don't know, that was a modification for Super Smash Bros. Brawl that fixed a lot of the issues that Brawl had, like the randomized tripping and that kind of nonsense that just completely destroyed competitive play. It made it faster and more like Smash Brothers Melee. Nintendo hated it, but it was literally just a mod of the game. But you had to mod your console in order to use it.
Oh, wow.
And that was where
That's pretty awesome.
Yeah. Oh, the Wii was super easy to mod, man. That was the best part about it.
Wow.
Nintendo cannot fix their overflow glitches. And it's just perpetually their Zelda games that have them. We're going to get into other news, though. Vincent has a story. Are there concentration camps in Canada right now that are being disguised as, what are they calling them, quarantine camps?
Quarantine isolation camps.
We're going to get into that.
Sounds like fun.
Yeah, doesn't it? Cold breakfast. 855-450-3733. This is Free Talk Live.
News from news.bitcoin.com. Economist claims that value of US dollar will descend by 35% in the next year, and the dollar is the most overrated major currency in the world today. US Federal Reserve is actively working on turning the US dollar into a digital currency. Bitcoin set a new record for time above $10,000 in value. Bitcoin.com is your source for getting started with cryptocurrencies, getting a wallet, buying Bitcoin Cash, mining, and all the latest cryptocurrency news at news.bitcoin.com.
Divvy's been a pretty good investment for Free Talk Live. Their ad campaign started in September 2019, and from mid-March to mid-July, the values soared by 10 times. It's not too late. Divvy's new wallet hasn't even released yet, and other things are happening that I can't even say on the radio. If you want to invest and potentially do well, go to divvyproject.org. I can tell you that FTL is deepening its partnership with the guys from divvyproject.org. Past performance is not an indication of future profit. divvyproject.org. D-I-V-I project.org.
July 25th, we adopted April. She's a purebred, orange and white Brittany. But when she started scratching like crazy, I said to John, it's got to be her food. You know, what you put into a dog is what you get out. We heard this radio commercial, and this woman was so excited about Dinovite, DINOVITE.com. I said to John, I'm getting this. So the Dinovite comes, and I thought, a light bulb moment. She loves her dog food. She always leaves a little bit in her bowl. So we added a huge scoop of Dinovite in it, and then we swished it around like gravy. She dove into that bowl. She licked it clean. She loved it. So that's been the routine. April gets Dinovite for dessert. Her coat is now soft. It's silky. Dinovite is nutrition. She even walks like a little princess.
You won't believe how happy your dog will be.
On Dinovite, she's Little Miss Hollywood. DINOVITE.com.
Free Talk Live.
Most people, when it comes to what the government demands about their property, the zoning board or whatever department we're dealing with here that claims to have dominion over what you believe to be your property, most people just go along to get along because they understand that something nasty will happen if they don't. They understand that if they don't do what the people calling themselves government demand that they do, that eventually men with guns are going to come to their house, possibly just take it from them. And I think everybody inherently knows that there's a threat of violence behind what the government does. Oh, I know. You like to tell yourself stories about how it's the price of civilization to pay taxes. The price of civilization is zoning. It's the price of civilization to obey orders.
Well, don't forget the pig farm excuse.
Oh, sure, yeah.
If you didn't have zoning, somebody would open a pig farm right next door to you.
Free Talk Live, 7 nights a week from 7 to 10 Eastern, live on the Liberty Radio Network at LRN.FM.
There are lots of ways to listen to Free Talk Live. Our podcast has been around since podcasts began, and now the FTL feed is loaded with content besides our full show archives. Did you know that we make it easy for you to customize your podcast subscriptions? We have different feeds, one that includes only our full shows, one with just the Daily Digest, and our main feed that includes everything. You decide what you listen to. It's quick and easy to customize your feeds at feeds.freetalklive.com. That's feeds.freetalklive.com. Bitcoin.com has launched a trading platform at local.bitcoin.com, allowing you to buy or sell Bitcoin Cash via dozens of payment methods like PayPal, Venmo, bank deposit, remittances, or meeting in person with cash. There are no ID requirements to sign up for and use the site, and all communications between buyers and sellers are encrypted. Finally, a global trading platform that respects your privacy. Visit local.bitcoin.com to get started trading Bitcoin Cash. local.bitcoin.com.
Help get LRN.FM into more ears. Visit promote.lrn.fm for a free bumper sticker, flyers, banners, graphics, and more. Promote.lrn.fm.
It's Free Talk Live, talk radio that you control. You can call in and talk about anything that's on your mind. That toll-free number is 855-450-3733. With you in the studio, it's Aria.
And Ian.
And Vincent.
And Ian, tell us about AnyPay. Apparently you have news.
There's something new, and that's AnyPay 2.0 that launched, actually it was a little earlier this summer, but it's official now, and we can talk about it, and how AnyPay 2.0 makes crypto payments even easier.
Oh, this is the AnyPay QR code?
Yeah.
Oh, God, I love it.
Isn't it great?
It is.
Basically, it used to be old AnyPay 1.0. You had to tell the cashier, okay, I want to pay with Bitcoin Cash, or I want to pay with Dash, or I want to pay with Bitcoin, or whatever, like of the different options that they have. And the cashier, could have to choose the option. Then a new QR code comes up, and you scan that code, and you make the payment, and it's fine. But sometimes the payment would take like 3 seconds, which is in most cases a lot faster than a credit card. But sometimes it would be like 10 seconds, and then you're starting to wait, and you're like, okay, somebody's standing behind me, and it's taking a little bit too long. So it was kind of a bit of a range. Well, they've completely retooled the system. They've made it. Now I'm not going to get into the technicals of how it works.
I've noticed that it often pops up as paid now before my wallet even pops up saying transaction sent.
Yeah, it is that fast. You are not exaggerating.
No, I'm not.
I've seen that happen as well. And so AnyPay 2.0 is super fast, and that's awesome. But there's a problem. And the problem is some wallets, including some popular ones like Coinomi.
Yeah, but no one should be using Coinomi at this point.
Well, look, the fact is a lot of people are. And they've got a large installed user base. And obviously, we want their experience to be good too. So the idea is, hey, if you are using Coinomi or you're using Exodus, which is also otherwise a very, very good wallet, there's a few of them that are out there that are just not compatible with this new technology that AnyPay has put into play. If you're using certain wallets like Edge Wallet, you're good to go. If you're using Handcash for Bitcoin SV, you're good to go. If you're using Bitcoin.com's wallet, you're good to go. Dash Wallet, you're all set. But Coinomi, it's not going to work at all. So if you're a Coinomi user...
It will work, but you have to change the cryptocurrency.
No, I don't think Coinomi will work at all.
Really?
I think you're wrong about that.
I used to use Coinomi.
Have you used it since AnyPay 2.0?
No, I'm saying they had the customer, not the customer, the person working there has to change it to Bitcoin Cash, and then it would still work.
I don't think it will.
Really?
I think you're wrong about that.
Well, Coinomi just sucks all around then.
Yeah, there's just certain wallets out there, they just don't have what it takes to be a payments wallet. They're fine for like holding crypto, but to actually go out in real life and use it, no, they're not good for it. They don't have the new technology that AnyPay has. And when I say new, I mean like circa 2015. So they're way behind the ball on this. They need to hear from their users. They need to hear from people who are Coinomi fans, people who love that wallet, that use that wallet. And AnyPay will help you do this. They'll help you reach out to Coinomi and contact them. They've actually been in touch with Coinomi, and it seems like they're taking this pretty seriously. And they've said they're going to implement changes, but it wouldn't hurt to hear from a few more folks. So if you love Coinomi or Exodus Wallet or some of these other wallets that just don't work with AnyPay 2.0, go to anypayinc.com/upgrade, and they'll tell you more about why these wallets don't work. They'll get into a little bit of technical explanation for what's going on sort of behind the scenes, and then they'll give you some contact information that you can use, their Twitter or the Coinomi's email, and you can reach out to their support and just let them know that you would like to use Coinomi or Exodus or whatever to pay with AnyPay, and they'll give you instructions. So anypayinc.com/upgrade. This is an important step, and we're going through growing pains here. The sort of the ecosystem of Bitcoin, making it useful, making crypto useful for payments, and so the wallets, they just got to get caught up. That's it.
That's true. But I mean, crypto itself, people have to become willing to actually go out there and spend it and make purchases.
Oh, yeah.
And I suspect outside of like Portsmouth and Keene, there isn't a whole lot of that.
For what it's worth, I figured I'd put it on the radio.
Sure.
I don't disagree with you, but I know we've got some crypto fans in our audience who want the best for cryptocurrency. And so if you use Coinomi or Exodus Wallet, then you qualify to send them a message. So anypayinc.com/upgrade.
So, Vincent, you brought in a number of bits and pieces about this particular story. You sent me a video. Can you set it up for me? What is going on here?
Absolutely. So in order to understand what's going on in Canada regarding the coronavirus lockdown and quarantine, you have to understand that Canada has its own Dr. Fauci, and her name is Theresa Tam. And probably one of the most horrifying things I've seen come out like politically from Canada is a video of her for some sort of like Discovery Channel type, like hypothetical scenario for a pandemic that ended up being very similar to what we're seeing now. And this was recorded a few years ago. And a plot point in the documentary was that some people would refuse to self-quarantine, so the government would have to literally snatch them and put them into quarantine isolation centers. And I'm watching the documentary with her in it, and literally on they have like reenactments and stuff with actors. They have police actors, grabbing someone and throwing them into a van, and it cuts back to Theresa Tam saying how great that's going to be. So
this is, by the way, the same woman we've reported before this year during this whole COVID crackdown. She's telling Canadians to expect social distancing for 2 to 3 years, I believe the last is what I heard from her. So all the COVID crackdown stuff, she's saying it's not going to let up anytime soon.
Yeah, absolutely. She's an absolute monster tyrant, and so this is who's in charge of her, and this is who they gave political power to, right? The same thing that they did in the UK to the guy, I forget the guy's name, the same thing we did to Fauci. So a few weeks ago, and I had the hardest time finding like articles to use as sources, just because Google and all the big tech companies, they made it very clear that anything that they consider fake news or goes against the grain is going to get deleted or buried under search results. So it's been very difficult to find this. In Quebec, a few weeks, let's see here, on September 10th, okay, so about more than a month ago, they had a doctor, here we go. Dr. Jacques Girard said during, it's not like some secret hidden camera, footage or anything. This is at a press conference. He openly talks about people who refuse to self-isolate getting forcibly put in to isolation camps by the police. Or not camps. So he's called it facility, right? It's a government facility.
So are these people who tested positive for COVID-19, or is this random people?
People who it has to be COVID related, right?
For now.
Yeah, exactly. For now, and what we come to today. So that's going on in Quebec. So today
it's not a camp; it's a playground. You
it's
just
a
can't
facility.
leave.
It's a health facility, and so what's
not being able to leave is the problem.
Well,
the
being
rest of
taken
it
there in
I'm
the first
okay
place.
with. Okay, sure.
Yeah.
Oh, and it's getting worse, and we might have found a paper trail. So for the video we have lined up, this is in Ontario, right, which is where the Ottawa, the capital, the capital of Canada is, where a member of Parliament brings it up on the I forget what they call it, in the House,
the floor,
the floor. Thank you. Yes, and the floor, a RFI, which is a RFI.
Request for information?
Yes, thank you. I don't know if they have like different names for it up there. RFI that calls for private contractors, right? Independent private contractors to provide for facilities to put Canadians in due to a health crisis.
So they want to build a facility.
Yes. The language here I
They're
have
getting
in
ready.
front of me. Yeah, it's
They're
very
getting ready for
scary.
something. All right.
And is that in this video that we're about to play?
Yes.
Excellent. Stay tuned. We're going to listen to that. 855-450-3733. This is Free Talk Live.
On a multidimensional probe, the Syscov Trans-Temporal Vehicle Clio discovers 2 entire universes have been annihilated in a massive time-traveling accident. Robert Kaminsky and his crew race home with the news, only to learn their own universe is next. To pull off the impossible, they'll have to embrace the unpalatable by placing their trust in the admin, Syscov's xenophobic sister universe, and the same people who tried to kill them all only months before. The Valkyrie Protocol by David Weber and Jacob Hollow. Available October 6th, wherever books are sold. Visit Bainbooks at Bain.com for more.
Did you know you can support freedom of speech just by visiting shop.freetalklive.com? You'll see links to Walmart, Love Java, Newegg, and more. Every day, Free Talk Live is at the forefront of the liberty movement as the biggest liberty-oriented talk show in the world, giving you a platform to be heard on any topic. Get listener-only specials without doing anything other than an extra click. Visit shop.freetalklive.com. Use the links and buy what you'd be buying anyway. Take action now. Save and support freedom. Visit shop.freetalklive.com. It's shop.freetalklive.com.
Is spreading the message of liberty, cryptocurrency, and peace around the globe worth $2 per month to you? As you may already know, in addition to our internet feed, LRN.FM broadcasts on free-to-air satellite across North and Central America, as well as Sub-Saharan Africa. And we've been available on satellite for free 24/7 since 2010. The LRN.FM free-to-air satellite signal is reaching some of the most oppressive regimes in the world, and there's no doubt our ideas are making an impact. You can learn more about the channel's impact by watching the 3-minute video at fund.lrn.fm. If you'd like to help free minds globally with our ideas of liberty, cryptocurrency, and peace, you can donate as little as $2 per month via fund.lrn.fm. You can help us continue and expand our satellite broadcast to multiple continents. Visit fund.lrn.fm today, and thank you for your help. Don't forget to share the link on social media. That's fund.lrn.fm.
Is oral health important to you? If you don't like your own teeth, fresh breath, or kissing people, then by all means stop listening. Several years ago, I met Jessica Armand, founder and CEO of My Magic Mud, and I became passionate about the product that she created and never want to live without it. It's clinically proven to whiten teeth, but I find it does much more. They want you to love My Magic Mud as much as I do, so they're giving you a money-back guarantee plus 20% off. Go to mymagicmud.com and use coupon code FTL20 at checkout. mymagicmud.com, FTL20.
What if you want to hear the latest episode of Free Talk Live, but all you have is your phone, you forgot to download our archive, and you have no data connection? You can call our Listen line at 641-793-0191. That's a long-distance number, so you may incur charges. If not, listen as long as you want. 641-793-0191. The Free Talk Live Listen line, 641-793-0191.
I've been told no in many different ways.
I give you an order and you're going to obey it.
George, you can go this way. You can do that and you have to leave here.
You cannot bring Simon to the rally.
Walk with me. Well, I'm comfortable here, actually. Whoa. Hey. Who do you think you are? Excuse me.
There is no video or audio allowed in this office.
No, I have work today.
You ain't going to make it.
Wait a minute.
Hey! Oh my God! Unbelievable!
Why are you running from me? Because you're scared me. What am I being detained for?
You're being served.
What is this?
You're being served.
What is this? Bureaucrats have a funny way of telling people no.
That's the sound of the men working on the chain.
Derek J's Victimless Crime Spree. Watch it for free and order the Director's Cut DVD at victimlesscrimespree.com.
Some of our live shows are streamed in HD on Twitch. Please follow and share at twitch.lrn.fm. That's twitch.lrn.fm.
It's Free Talk Live, talk radio that you control. The only show where you can call in and talk about anything that's on your mind. That toll-free number is 855-450-3733. And with you in the studio, it's Aria, Vincent, and Ian. And we're going to go now to this video that we're talking about. This is from the House Chamber and the Ontario Parliament. I have to unmute it first. I'm incompetent.
Member for Lanark, Frontenac, Kingston. Thank you, Speaker. My question is to the Premier. In my supplemental question yesterday, I asked this government if the people of Ontario should prepare for internment camps. In September, the federal government posted a call for expressions of interest for contractors to supply, provide, and manage quarantine isolation camps throughout every province and every territory in Canada. These quarantine isolation camps, however, are not limited to people with COVID, but provide a wide latitude for many people to be detained. Surely this government is aware of the intentions to build these isolation camps from coast to coast. And my question to the Premier is, how many of these camps will be built, and how many people does this government expect to detain? Question. Government House Leader.
And under what circumstances also will they be, because he was suggesting that there's more than just COVID that could be put in there. What about people with so-called oppositional defiance disorder? You heard about that one?
That's the mental disorder that we have because we don't obey authority, right?
That's right.
Yeah.
It's a disease. You need help.
I don't need help. The people who bow to the state need help.
Well,
they're the crazy
They're the
ones
ones building the
But
facility.
the inmates are running the asylum here. And I think he's going, the premier, so you saw him Premier of Ontario. Premier is like governors. It's the governor of a province. And this is actually Rob Ford's brother, apparently. He's
the crack-smoking mayor of Toronto.
And apparently he was a damn good mayor. He's probably better than his brother here.
Well, he did smoke crack, so he was at least probably a real human being.
Oh, yeah. Well, yeah, he would walk to his office instead of take the government-provided chauffeur because he said the city was spending too much tax money. So he was a decent mayor. It's a shame he died.
I don't think he was a decent person at all. He's a hypocrite.
Well, I mean, for a mayor of Toronto, you think he was decent.
How many people did the Toronto police put in jail for drug violations under this particular mayor?
And did he actually smoke crack?
It was on video. Yeah, it was on video.
Did he do this while in office?
Yes,
he did.
And I think he
did he lose office because of this?
I believe he had to. Did he resign over that? We covered it.
No, I think he died. Well, he
did die,
but I think he stood a chance of getting reelected. But he died due to health-related things.
Yeah, he was very obese and smoking crack. Not a good combo.
No, well, smoking crack is probably not a good idea under the best of circumstances. I have to be honest, if I had a choice between two mayors and one of them smoked crack and one of them didn't, the one that didn't smoke crack would be far more likely to get my vote.
The one that didn't smoke crack?
Yes. Okay. The one who did smoke crack would have to preach some real hardcore libertarian philosophy to get me.
This guy was not a libertarian.
Well, I don't know. Most of the terrible mayors I've ever encountered didn't smoke, or as to the best of my knowledge, didn't smoke crack. So let's try something new.
No, but a crackhead would be unpredictable.
Well, I know, and I think that's better than being predictably awful.
He was like a conservative, basically. So he wasn't special.
So let's hear the premier's answer here.
Speaker. It is very true that when people leave the country and when they come back in, that the province is suggesting, and the federal government, in cooperation with the federal government, we are suggesting that people isolate themselves.
Hold on.
So yeah, he totally avoids the question.
It doesn't sound like a suggestion to me usually when the government does these things, right? Like he's using the term, we're suggesting. Is it a suggestion in Ontario province that you quarantine, or is it an order? Is it a demand?
Is it a suggestion that you wear a mask? Would be my first question.
That is another good question.
No, and in the RF5 that the member of parliament is referring to, it's called, they call it requirements, federal requirements associated with COVID-19 pandemic responses.
Yeah, so this is typical government doublespeak or whatever. They're using terms, making it sound like, hey, look, it's just a suggestion. Hey, buddy, we're just suggesting that you get into this cattle car here. Poke.
And he's counting on the people being stupid, and unfortunately, due to the amount of the applause after his non-answer, he was right.
Well, they're all politicians in this room, right?
Yes.
And he gave a politician's answer, so obviously they would applaud it. I mean,
well, certainly whoever's
they
on
don't
his
want
team,
an honest answer.
Whichever of them are on his team are going to applaud this.
Not only here in the province of Ontario, but across Canada, and we will, of course, be redoubling our efforts to make sure that the people of the province of Ontario remain safe, Mr. Speaker. So if the member is referring to the fact that that one of the public health policies is that when you return from a jurisdiction outside of the province of Ontario or from another country that you isolate yourself for 2 weeks, I would suggest that has been a good policy that has been working. In fact, this House has been doing the same thing since we came back. We are working in cohorts to make sure that.
Now, he says here, because he said a lot of words there, but what he basically said is, our requirement that people voluntarily isolate themselves has been good. It's not voluntary if it's required.
That's correct.
That the Legislative Assembly can continue to operate. That's why we have 2 separate cohorts, Mr. Speaker.
Response.
And with the cooperation of the official opposition, that is why all members of the Independents have been excluded from that cohort, because we want them to be able to participate in debate. So we'll continue to do everything in our power to make sure that this House continues, but that the people of the province of Ontario and Canada are kept safe.
Supplementary question.
Again, back to the Premier.
Hold on, pause it here again.
Sure.
I got to say, the word cohort, I had never really heard used in any sort of, besides like, hey, buddy, or whatever, like, cohort, you're my cohorts, right? Like, I'd heard it used in that circumstance, but never in any sort of significant way. I'm seeing it thrown around since COVID. I actually had to look it up. Like, he just used it multiple times.
I considered it more like partner. Is that a Canadian thing, maybe, Vincent?
Cohort is, I think it's like a Latin word. It's like a Roman military.
Well, I mean, just in Canadian culture, is that a word that gets thrown around a lot
I'm French
more?
Canadian. I don't know what the blokes say. I don't know what the English say.
I didn't just see it in French or Canadian news.
Okay.
I'd seen it elsewhere. And essentially, it is a group of subjects who share a defining characteristic. So it's sort of a subgroup, basically, within. And so he's like, oh, well, with all the word salad that you expect from a politician. It's just a volunteer. We're just suggesting, and we're in cohorts. Look, you should do what we're doing. We're doing it right here. Just do what we're doing. We're going to make you.
And the important part is he's focusing on the travel aspect, right? Which is not what the MP brought up. It has nothing to do with travel, as you'll say.
So he didn't answer the question.
No.
Here's the RFP. And in the RFP, it uses clear language
Request
to
for
express
proposal.
that these camps can be used for a broad spectrum of people, not limited to travelers. Indeed, it doesn't even mention international travelers. It's just a broad latitude of people. And I'll send over the copy of the RFP after. So your government must be in negotiations and aware of these plans to potentially detain and isolate citizens and residents of our country and our province. So, Speaker, to the Premier, where will these camps be built? How many people will be detained? And for what reasons? For what reasons can people be kept in these isolation camps? And I'd like to have the Premier assure the people of Ontario.
Member, take a seat.
What the hell happened?
I don't know. Some parliamentary nonsense, I would
But
assume.
did they cut him off? This is the end of the video.
And this was a video that he himself posted.
Next question.
Wow. Next question.
Now, there was a cut there.
There was a noticeable cut.
And this was posted, what, last week? It's pretty fresh.
Yeah, and the video that I posted, that was posted by the MP himself. So I imagine if it was a more full
he would have posted it.
Yeah, that he would have posted it.
So they
Very
just
disturbing.
straight cut him off and went, next question.
Yeah, and it's not being reported anywhere except by Rebel News, which is like the Breitbart of Canada.
Interesting.
Yeah.
You have more on this?
We can
more do you
talk
need
about
to
the
hear?
implications. Yeah, but
I mean, I'd love
point.
to talk about that, sure. This is bad.
This is very bad. This is an MP trying to grill the Premier on what is actually happening in Canada.
Well,
and
don't
not
worry,
getting
it can't
any
happen
answers.
here.
Oh, that's what they like to say. This is Free Talk Live.
Attention business owners body slammed by overwhelming debt. If your business is in trouble, hassled by creditors, if you're frustrated, finally fed up with big business bailouts while your business has been left for dead, please listen close. There's a brand new fast-track bankruptcy. Some have even called it the biggest small business bailout in American history. Designed for individuals and their businesses. And look, almost no one knows about this yet. My attorney wasn't even aware of it. The truth is, beating the system has never been easy because it's rigged in a sense against the little guy. But here's the jaw-dropping news nobody's talking about. They've literally just changed the system so that you can beat it, but only if you understand how the new game has to be played. Find out if you qualify at pocketsoflight.com. This government-backed small business repair program is still legal, but may not be renewed after the election. Fight back fairly, fight back ethically at pocketsoflight.com.
Are you ready for what's next? It's likely coming. More food shortages, power outages, grocery stores closed, social unrest. Ask yourself, do you have enough food and supplies on hand to last at least 30 days? Most Americans do not, but you can. Avoid the panic of the last-minute rush. Order your 4-week supply of emergency food today from mypatriotsupply.com. Starvation or dependency on the government are your only alternatives. Avoid those and the pain of being unprepared. Go to mypatriotsupply.com right now. Build your emergency food supply with meals that last up to 25 years in storage, shipped discreetly to your door. Folks that know what's coming are using today to prepare. There's time for you to do the same. That's mypatriotsupply.com, the original Patriot Preparedness Company. mypatriotsupply.com.
On Free Talk Live, we're bringing people to the ideas of liberty every day. From wrestling superstars like Glenn Jacobs.
You guys really are having an impact, I believe. Like I said, a lot of where I am now is due to listening to Free Talk Live. You changed my mind on some very important issues years ago.
To random people tuning in on the radio.
I was kind of stuck in the left-right paradigm. I heard your show by chance on a Saturday night. From there, I went on, joined the Free State Project, and become an amplifier. So, I mean, that's really the reason why I amp is because I know that if it wasn't for you guys being on as many stations as you are, I never would have found the ideas of liberty.
Your amp will directly change more lives by getting Free Talk Live in front of people looking for talk radio online and on the air. When you amp Free Talk Live, you get perks like access to the AMP-only Facebook group and AMP podcast. Visit amp.freetalklive.com. Some of you asked, and now we've delivered. LRN.FM's live Keene, New Hampshire studio shows are now streamed in HD on Twitch. Visit our channel at twitch.lrn.fm and give it a follow. If you have Amazon Prime, you get one free subscription on Twitch. If you use it on our channel, Twitch will give LRN.FM a monthly piece of your Prime subscription cost. So please watch, follow, share, and subscribe to twitch.lrn.fm. That's twitch.lrn.fm.
There are basically two types of advertising, direct response and branding. Radio's great for direct response with its low cost to listener ratio, but audio can't be beat for branding, which is a longer-term endeavor. You want to be the first thing that someone thinks of when they think about your product or service. If you have a local business that you want kept top of mind in your community, call the station. If you need national reach, Free Talk Live's got around 200 radio stations, millions of monthly listening sessions, can suit all budgets, and if we don't think we're right for you, we'll tell you. Email me, mark@freetalklive.com.
Love what we do? Please help support our international satellite channels at patreon.lrn.fm. That's patreon.lrn.fm.
It's Free Talk Live, talk radio that you control. The only show where you can call in and talk about anything that's on your mind. That toll-free number is 855-450-3733. With you in the studio tonight, it's Arya.
And Ian.
And Vincent.
And I've got an awesome story I want to get into later from news.bitcoin.com all about this Televend, this bot for the app Telegram, from which you can buy drugs. It's pretty cool. It comes to us from news.bitcoin.com because bitcoin.com, they have everything you would need to know about cryptocurrency, including the latest news and developments. They also have a trading platform that you can find at local.bitcoin.com. They even have an exchange if you're not in the United States and you don't mind, or if you don't mind breaking the rules and know how to use a VPN, you can find that at exchange.bitcoin.com. They have everything you need to know about cryptocurrency, so go check it out. Again, that's bitcoin.com. The trading platform is local.bitcoin.com. I cannot recommend the site more highly, and I can't wait to get into that news article. But before we do, let's go to the phones. We've got Connor calling from Rhode Island. Connor, you're on Free Talk Live.
Hello.
Are you with us?
Get ready. Hello.
There's a lot of movement there.
Can you hear me?
Yeah, what's on your
Can
mind?
you hear me?
Yes.
Oh, hey, guys. So I actually have no idea who any of you guys are, no offense. But there was an individual by the name of Colin James who had been trolling a lot of progressive forums and avoiding.
I suspect you probably know who I am.
Oh, well, now wait a minute. Not everyone has heard of you.
I imagine most progressives have. Have you heard of the Satanist transsexual anarchist running for sheriff in New Hampshire?
Yeah, that's my cousin.
Huh?
I'm not your cousin.
No, it's a joke. I don't know who that is. I know. That's a joke. I have no idea who that is.
See, I told you, Arya. You're getting too big for your britches over there.
He's a progressive. How does he not know that? Okay.
Not everyone reads the news.
True.
Huh?
I never said I'm a progressive.
Oh, well, we were told you were a progressive.
Did you just assume my political affiliation?
Yeah.
Anyway, guys, I'm not here to mess with you. Basically, this guy wanted to debate libertarianism in general, but he was scared and he kind of kept running away from the debate. And he told me about this show, so he told me to call in and debate libertarianism as a philosophy.
Cool. So you wanted to talk to some people who wouldn't run away from a debate. Thanks. Welcome to the show.
Exactly. Yeah, because I like debate. So.
All right. So
And I
what
was
would you like to
libertarian
say?
For 6 months. So, well, I guess you guys. I don't really know anything about you guys, so I don't know where you fall on the libertarian spectrum.
I'm a voluntarist. Hi, my name's Ian.
Okay. You said you're Keynesian?
Voluntarist. My name is Ian. Ian Freeman. That's my name. I don't know how these other two would describe themselves.
For shock effect, I would say anarchist, but I mean, as people drill into my philosophy, they find out that I am, in fact, a voluntarist.
Mm-hmm. And your name?
Arya Demezzo.
Mm-hmm. And Vincent?
Okay.
My name is Vincent. I haven't really given that very much thought to it.
Okay, so you got 3 different people here, so we'll try to give you answers to whatever you want, whatever you want to talk about.
So are you guys like? All right, I'll just go through the questions, right? So are you guys anti-government?
Yes.
I am anti-coercion, and usually government is coercive, so by default, the answer would be yes. But if you could have like a government that was voluntary, then you can have that. That's cool.
That's true. It's not impossible. I'm anti-state.
Yeah.
The state is a type of government that utilizes force and coercion in order to achieve its ends.
Right. Like if you want to hire somebody to tell you what to do, like a dominatrix or something like that, then, I mean, you can be governed all you want to.
Okay, I got you. So are you guys, what about like, so obviously if you're anti-government, you're anti-Fed. But
Federal
if
Reserve.
you're anti-government, are you pro-gold standard? Because I know a lot of libertarians are gold standard, but it's kind of hard to maintain a gold standard without a government. So like, what do you guys use for currency? You guys just barter? Like,
Well, it would be easy to use gold as a currency. There's no need for a gold standard or a something that doesn't represent gold. Not when the Utah gold backs and the Nevada gold backs, and soon the New Hampshire gold backs exist. These allow us to spend gold in a plus.
So if we had that government today, how do I get that gold?
You can go, I think, on upma.org and order it.
I don't think you understood the answer to the question.
But with what currency? So, but what I'm saying is.
Okay, hold on. Let me take a crack at this one here. Hold on, before you go on with the further question.
Hold on, Connor.
So the gold standard, as I understand it, is some sort of a thing that governments decide this shall be what a gold, ounce of gold is worth, or whatever.
That's what they tether their currency to,
or whatever. Yeah, some sort of thing like that. Yeah. I don't think there needs to be any kind of central bank or treasury government goons telling me what money should be. We have money that the market can provide. Gold is one example, but a better, newer example in a lot of ways is cryptocurrency like Bitcoin. I can actually buy gold and things like that with Bitcoin. So I don't need to stop between and go to the dollar or anything like that. So if the dollar disappeared tomorrow or something, we have all kinds of other things that can act as money and act much more honestly as money than the government money systems of the world. Don't you agree?
Well, so I do like the idea of cryptocurrency as a theory. I like blockchain.
As a theory?
I'm not in theory, yeah, I like blockchain. Yeah, absolutely.
Well, the theory has become reality, right? Like cryptocurrency.
Well, he likes the idea of it, is what I think he's trying to say.
So what part about
he
do you
doesn't
not
like the implementation?
That's what you could presume. So what part do you not like?
Okay, how do you control for price fluctuation? I mean, you've seen what happens to Bitcoin.
Well, one Bitcoin is still one Bitcoin. It's because the USD is unreliable and constantly changing in value. But one Bitcoin is still one Bitcoin.
And the market hasn't really found a level for Bitcoin yet either. I mean, maybe at some point it will settle down. And if you're worried about price fluctuation, then you can get into what's called a stable coin. Now, for listeners that aren't familiar, a stable coin is a cryptocurrency token that is backed by a thing. Now, there are stable coins that are backed by government monies like dollars or yen or whatever, and then there's also stable coins that are backed by gold and or silver. So you can have a cryptocurrency token that's actually backed by gold if you want to. In fact, I even have a debit card issued by Uphold.com. They're not a sponsor. I've got this thing. I like to try out the crypto debit cards, and now Uphold, which is kind of like an online wallet. It's not a real wallet per se. It's sort of like a Coinbase thing where they control your keys. But they have, in their inventory of different cryptos that you can hold, they added recently a gold-backed crypto token. So you can actually...
Okay, so when you say they, I think this is very important because I think we're talking in circles, right? The important part is, okay, so who is ultimately managing it? Because you keep saying, "Oh, they will put this out.
Uphold. Sorry if I wasn't clear. Uphold is one of these companies that manages your keys for your cryptocurrency for you. Therefore it's not a real crypto wallet in that, like, I have real crypto wallet. It's called Edge Wallet or Exodus Wallet or one of these other ones where I control my keys and there's nobody else who is in control of those. Uphold is where they control the keys, so they're in control of the funds. Yeah. But one of the benefits of that.
Uphold?
Huh?
Who is Uphold?
Well, they're not the U.S. government.
Some company.
Okay,
but
so who elected the CEO? Who
I don't care.
For the CEO of Uphold?
I have no idea.
If he doesn't like them, he can just go to a different company.
Yeah, look, the reason I use the Uphold card is...
Okay, so different company. So again, Uphold will say the price fluctuation is 1. Another company will say the price fluctuation. So you're going to have different values at different companies. And this is the same
Okay, hold on, Connor. Hold on, Connor. Connor.
I let you go for a while. I'm not.
Well, you don't understand what you're talking about.
I haven't actually said anything here yet.
I understand.
No, you really don't.
Okay, Connor, I need you to hold on, or I'm going to put you on hold for a moment.
No.
Okay, you can keep saying no all you want. I put you on hold. Look, what you're not understanding here is that these fluctuations that you're talking about, they exist in the United States dollar. Who elected the CEO of Wells Fargo is as valid as a question as you're asking Ian about Uphold. You're asking him to justify his system when it's identical, when it's actually superior to your system because the state hasn't, come in and absolutely destroyed it. But your system has all of these same problems.
Well, but wait a minute. Plus, I wasn't even talking about the dollar. I was talking about a gold-backed crypto token. So we're not even in the realm.
Gold or something.
Right. I forget which one it is. It wasn't Pax, but it was one of these other ones where it's like an ounce of gold that backs this crypto token, which can be divisible down to however many decimal points. The point I was trying to make was this card that they issue a debit card, and I can link whichever Uphold wallet that I want to. So if I want to link my Dash wallet to it, if I want to link my Bitcoin wallet to it, if I want to link my Cash wallet to it, if I want to link my Gold wallet to it, I can do that. And then every time I swipe that card at a point of purchase, it actually takes if I've linked the Gold wallet, it will take the appropriate amount out. It will convert that into dollars and send that to the merchant. Same thing's true of Dash. So it's a killer app.
Are you still with us, Connor?
Crypto makes that possible, not governments.
Okay. Am I off mute again?
Yes, sir.
Or do you guys? I couldn't tell if you guys muted me or not.
You're here. Go ahead.
Okay. All right. Good. I wanted to make sure I can have a conversation. So, you guys actually hit on something very, very crucial a few minutes ago. Who elected the CEO of Wells Fargo?
Why should I care?
The board of directors.
No, because we should care. Because
sorry,
he
hit
said
you.
Should.
Yeah,
he said should.
I'm sorry, I put you on hold because I thought you said something you can't say.
Governmental institutions, whether they be economics, but whatever they are, who controls those?
Well, Connor, stay tuned because we talk about that.
That's a good question.
Remember when you first heard about Bitcoin? How long did it take you to realize this little project would soon change the world? Do you kind of wish you had got involved sooner? Well, now is your chance to be a part of the next revolution in money. Intercoin is working to finally make crypto go mainstream. It's designed to be scalable enough to support everyday payments and even elections without the state. Bitcoin was originally supposed to be a peer-to-peer cash system, the way we would all pay one another without having to trust any third party. But instead, over time, it mostly became a store of value. That's because every 10 minutes, the Bitcoin network must put all transactions into a block, and that block can only hold so much. If crypto is to become mainstream for people to use it for everyday payments, we need a new architecture, one that is as secure as Bitcoin while being far more scalable. Check out intercoin.org to find out more and maybe pick up some of those coins for yourself.
Looking for a great real estate investment? Consider New Hampshire, which is ground zero for the Liberty Movement. Your first call should be to Mark Worden from Porcupine Real Estate. He's more than just a real estate agent. He's your New Hampshire concierge. Where are the best places to live? Do you want farm, city, the burbs, or forest? Do you want a duplex or multifamily building so that renters pay your mortgage? There are homes in all price ranges in New Hampshire, and Mark can help with financing too. Invest in liberty and property. Mark Worden can help.
PorcupineRealEstate.com
So you've heard all 3 hours of the latest episode of Free Talk Live, and you're still hungry for liberty-oriented audio content? Did you know that we have another 24/7 audio stream at LRN.FM? The Liberty Radio Network airs the latest episodes of some of the best liberty-oriented podcasts on the internet around the clock. In addition to recorded content, you'll also hear live shows like Free Talk Live, originating from our Keene, New Hampshire studio. So listen anytime at LRN.FM. That's LRN.FM.
You're listening to the live edition of Free Talk Live. Hour number 3 is next after the news here on the Liberty Radio Network at LRN.FM.
She says she can separate her beliefs from her rulings. I'm Lisa Lacera, Fox News. Day 2 of confirmation hearings for Supreme Court nominee Amy Coney Barrett as she faced tough questions from Democrats who have concerns she's been influenced by the president's wishes.
I know that so many of my colleagues have already established that the president expects you to strike down the Affordable Care Act, and you've already established that you made no such commitments. But clearly that is why this whole process is occurring so that you can be sitting on that court in time to hear the Affordable Care Act by the Supreme Court on November 10th.
Hawaii Senator Mazie Hirono, but Judge Barrett says she has no agenda.
My policy views, my moral convictions, my religious beliefs do not bear on how I decide cases, nor should they. It would be, it would be in conflict with my judicial oath.
The hearings continue for about another hour, and they will resume tomorrow morning with a preliminary vote set for Thursday. President Trump back on the campaign trail again this evening with a rally in Johnstown, Pennsylvania, while his opponent focused on Florida.
Former Vice President and Democratic presidential nominee Joe Biden told seniors in Pembroke Pines that the president recently said the virus affects virtually no one except older folks with heart and other conditions.
As Donald Trump, it's simple. Not a joke. You're expendable. You're forgettable. You're virtually nobody. That's how he sees seniors.
Biden told the gathering that if the Affordable Care Act ends, it will impact aspects of Medicare, which he said can hurt seniors.
Fox's Jessica Rosenthal. Senate Majority Leader Mitch McConnell is scheduling a procedural vote on a Republican COVID-19 relief package for next week. Talks on a larger deal with House Speaker Nancy Pelosi fell apart over the weekend. McConnell says the bill will be the same one that was on the floor a month ago that didn't have the support of a single Democrat. America is listening to Fox News.
For over 20 years, millions of customers have trusted Blinds.com to update their homes. Because Blinds.com makes it easy to get custom blinds that'll give your windows a high-end look without the high-end price. Whether you like to DIY, need design help, or prefer measure and install services, they do it all with easy online ordering and free shipping right to your door. If you're unsure, know that Blinds.com has over 30,000 5-star customer reviews, and they guarantee the perfect fit for your windows, whether you do it yourself or have them measure and install everything for you.
Right now, shop Blinds.com's annual Friends and Family Sale right from home with easy online ordering and free shipping right to your door. You'll save up to 40% on everything through October 13th. Blinds, shades, interior shutters, and more. Plus, pay over 24 months at 0% APR on qualifying purchases with PayPal Credit Easy Payments. Ends January 31st, 2021. As of September 1st, 2020, new PayPal credit accounts have a variable purchase APR of 23.99% that will vary with the market based on the prime rate. Minimum interest charge is $2, subject to credit approval. Visit Blinds.com/PayPal. Other rules and restrictions may apply.
The Pentagon expressing concerns over a rise in military suicides.
The U.S. Army's top officer says he's concerned the rise of suicides among his soldiers are tied to the coronavirus pandemic.
Some of the scientists have said they've not been able to show causation between COVID and suicide, but I would argue, at least my sense is, it is having an effect because it disconnects people.
General James McConville spoke to reporters at the Pentagon Tuesday. Army officials say there's been a 30% spike in suicides this year compared to last year. At the Pentagon, Lucas Tomlinson, Fox News.
Democrats in Wisconsin say they will ask the Supreme Court to decide whether absentee ballots received up to 6 days after the election can be counted. State Republicans have argued that voters in the state have plenty of time to cast their ballot. Federal safety regulators investigating a malfunction in a major automaker's electric car.
The National Highway Traffic Safety Administration is investigating 3 reports of fires on Chevy Bolt.
LRN.FM's free-to-air satellite feeds blanket most of 2 continents. It was my goal to put our channel there so people without internet could receive our programs and feed pirate radio stations. As our contract with our satellite provider is coming up for another 3-year renewal, I have to consider calling it quits. It's rare that we get feedback or support from our satellite users.
We started a fundraiser a few years ago, and though there are a bunch of great contributors to it, as of this recording, it covers 15% of our monthly satellite costs. Please email lrn@lrn.fm and tell me how you use the satellite feed. Better yet, chip in at fund.lrn.fm. The costs aren't the issue. We can afford them, but why continue something not valued by the market? Want to help? You can join our satellite fundraiser for just $2 a month at fund.lrn.fm. If we raise enough to keep both channels on the air, awesome. If we raise more, I'll add more channels. If not, we can shut them down and go internet only. It's up to you. Thank you for your support. Fund.lrn.fm.
Frustrated Superman fans told reporters Monday that the economically healthy and financially stable Daily Planet newspaper is now the most unrealistic aspect of the comic books universe. Acknowledging that enjoying the adventures of a superhero that can fly, lift cars over his head, and shoot beams of light out of his eyes requires some suspension of disbelief, longtime readers said even the comic's most exciting stories are regularly ruined by the implausibility of a thriving daily newspaper, whose advertising revenue and circulation numbers have not at all been threatened by a media landscape overtaken by laptops, smartphones, and aggregation websites.
Look, I could play along with Superman using his breath to freeze a volcano or clapping his hands together to cause some sort of sonic boom, but seeing images of a thriving Daily Planet newsroom not facing layoffs or dwindling home subscriptions just really takes me out of the story. No one in Metropolis has realized they could get news online faster and for free?
This is the Onion News Network.
Free Talk Live.
It's Free Talk Live, talk radio that you control. You can call in and talk about anything that's on your mind. That toll-free number is 855-450-3733. With you in the studio tonight is Aria, Ian, and Vincent. And we've got a caller on the line here who asked an interesting question at the very tail end of the last segment about, you know, who elected the CEO of Wells Fargo. I don't exactly know how this whole corporate system works, but
board of directors.
Is it not the shareholders? Well, the shareholders elects the board, right?
Yeah, something like that.
So it's just this sort of hierarchy of people voting for people. And
I suspect that's how it works, yeah.
I mean, I can't imagine anyone supporting what Wells Fargo does.
Well, before we bring back, what was his name, Connor?
Connor.
Before we bring back Connor, I want to explain why I said I don't care.
Right.
Even though I despise Wells Fargo. I mean, like you, Aria, Wells Fargo has targeted me.
I liked them up until about a month ago.
Yeah. And so they targeted me. They targeted you, Aria, because we sell Bitcoin. Yes. And like most government-approved banks, Wells Fargo hates Bitcoin, and they want to do everything they can to crush Bitcoin. And so they target accounts like ours. So by no means am I, a fan of Wells Fargo, but I do understand what they are. And what Wells Fargo is a corporate creature. They're a thing of the state. A corporation is a legal fiction. Now, what is a legal fiction? It's pure fantasy. Okay, it's pure legal fiction, meaning a thing that does not actually exist. Not to say that the government or the Wells Fargo buildings and employees and things like that don't exist. Obviously, those exist.
Yeah, but the fictitious entity, the group, doesn't. The individuals exist, right?
Correct.
The bricks and stones exist, but the idea of it is just an idea.
Yeah, the corporation is the idea.
It's like a storybook, right? It's a physical thing, and it's written down, but that's all it is.
Correct. But the government treats it. The government people treat it as though it's real, as though it's a, quote, person. But the reason why it doesn't matter who the CEO is because whoever the next guy is also going to be an a-hole too. So why should I care? I will use them for whatever my purposes are in whatever way I can to promote my mission, which is to get cryptocurrency out there into people's hands, to get people out of the government money system. And to that end, they are and can be useful. That's it.
I mean, we've literally seen this, in fact, with banks. There was one bank in Nevada that was purchased by a cryptocurrency enthusiast.
That's
and
right.
He's now, as far as I understand it, he's taken control, but absolutely nothing within the bank policies have changed.
Not in 2 years.
So let's get Connor back on the line. Connor, you're with us again. Are you still with us?
Oh, I'm here, guys.
Okay, perfect. What did you think about Ian's response regarding Wells Fargo?
No, you know what? I think maybe we'll table the Bitcoin and the crypto stuff because I think we have a point of agreement here.
Okay.
I hate Wells Fargo as well. And to be honest, I don't really have any say, I don't really care who the CEO is. As of today, my concern is who elects these people, who puts these people in power. Because ultimately, I believe in democratization of society. And that's why I could never be a libertarian.
Now, when you say democratization of society, can you tell me what that means?
Yes. Okay. And I'll ask a question first, and then we can draw this one out a little bit. Do you guys believe in democracy?
No. Will you answer Ian's question? You said you wanted to have a discussion. This has got to go two ways.
Okay. All right. Fine. I believe in democracy. Right? Now, that means that I make the conscious decision to elect people, to put people in power that have some say over me. Right?
And everyone
else.
My
representatives. Those are senators, congressmen, mayors, and we need to do our part to hold these people to account, right?
How's that working out?
But Connor, they're not just in charge of you; they're in charge of everyone.
Exactly.
You're deciding who rules over everyone.
But everyone decides on who their boss.
No, they don't.
Right?
No, they don't. There's a good portion of the American people that never vote. They're not interested in participating in that system. And even though I participate in it, that doesn't mean that I consent to it. I'm only participating in it for defensive purposes. I want to make sure that these goons leave people alone. Unfortunately, all of them want to tell us all how to live and what to do. So part of this whole democracy system is that you agree to do what you're told by people who don't agree with you if they happen to win, right? That's kind of a crappy deal, isn't it?
Well, we're part of society, right? So we don't always get what we want. But when we all
what is a society? Hold on, before you go on, what's a society? You just made a statement.
For Joe Jorgensen, right?
You just made a statement. You said we're part of society. What does that mean to be part of? What is a society?
It's a group of like-minded individuals that all agree collectively on a certain set of ideals.
What if I don't agree?
I don't know. Go to another country?
If you don't like it, leave.
Just go to Somalia, right?
This is the first time I heard.
Are you a conservative? That sounds like a conservative line.
Connor, there is no acre of land on this planet to which I can go to be free of the state. And why can't I take part in society, whatever it is you would define that as, without also bowing to the state?
Because we are all social creatures. Like, we do not survive as individuals. We would not survive as a species without each other.
Right.
Okay. So it's good to have friends.
What's that have to do with the state?
Because ultimately, you need some sort of organizing body to basically say, hey, everyone, we're going to go to the moon.
You don't, though. People will organize, human beings will organize themselves. That's the whole idea behind anarchism and voluntarism, is that anarchy, voluntarism, human beings acting voluntarily and consensually create order.
Right. Well, with freedom, I get to choose.
Government.
With freedom, I get to choose which society to join. I want to join the society of peaceful people. I want to join a society of people, and we've actually already done this. It's called the Shire Society. It was formed back in 2010. But I want to join a society, which is, by the way, a voluntary association of individuals who've come together for a common cause. It doesn't mean they all have to agree with the same thing necessarily, but they've joined together voluntarily. You're describing a society that is not voluntary. That doesn't sound like a society to me. That sounds like force.
Well, I mean, I can go to another country if I
can you? Do you have the permission slip?
Go to another country.
Have you tried doing that without a permission slip?
Do you guys not want to be human?
Did you get your hall pass? You said you can go to another country, and I asked you, did you get your hall pass first? Because if you try to go to another plot of land without having the government permission slip, they will stop you.
Yeah, because you guys believe in private property, right? Can I just walk into someone else's private property without permission?
Are you saying a country is tantamount to private property? Because you also can't leave without a passport. So this private property, this owner of this land, the government, the federal government of the United States, they won't even let you leave unless you pay them and obey them.
Borders?
Huh?
Are you guys for open borders then?
Absolutely. Yeah.
Borders are fictitious things.
I'm for freedom, dude. Freedom means the freedom to travel from one point to another.
A little more viable. I think we can do that.
Huh? Say that again?
I think we can do that.
Think we can do what?
In a far distant future.
Think we can do what?
No borders.
Cool.
I think we can do it now.
Well, in order to have no borders, we should have no nation as well. Let's go all the way.
Yeah, I don't necessarily believe that.
Right, because you want to tell people what to do.
Competing ideas out there. There's still a lot of competing ideas out there, right?
Well, that's the thing. You should have your ideas
earlier,
compete in a free
decide,
marketplace. Right? If you've got such a great idea, then people should follow it voluntarily. You shouldn't need to threaten them with force.
Okay, so you guys earlier you said you want a peaceful society, right? So you guys want to eliminate the military-industrial complex.
Absolutely.
Okay, so why don't we work together to do that?
Cool. I'm already doing it by not paying taxes and not doing what I'm told by the federal government. What are you doing?
Okay, well, I'm actively working on campaigns, canvassing with individuals.
That'll never change anything.
No, they're all part of the military-industrial complex.
Are you working on Tulsi Gabbard's campaign? Because she's the only one in the presidential contest earlier this year who was talking anything about any kind of reduction in war. Oh, Trump also, I think he said he's going to get the troops out of Afghanistan.
Bernie Sanders accepted a large amount of money for Vermont in order to build a Lockheed Martin facility or something like that. He's absolutely part of the military-industrial complex.
Great call, though, man. You should call again sometime. We'd love to talk to you again about other stuff.
It saddens me how Bernie Sanders pulled the wool over so many people's eyes. I mean, he sells out repeatedly to Hillary Clinton and then to Joe Biden. He uses that money to buy beach houses. He takes money from Lockheed Martin.
He betrayed Ron Paul on the audit the Fed bill.
And he's an absolutely disgusting individual.
Scum.
He's not Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez here, okay? He's a scummy old man who is obsolete and needs to go away.
She's a purebred, orange and white Brittany, but when we adopted April, she started scratching like crazy. I said, what you put into a dog is what you get out. DINOVITE.com. So we added a huge scoop of Dinovite in her bowl. She licked it clean. She loved it. Her coat is now soft, it's silky. Dinovite is nutrition.
You get some Dinovite, how happy your dog will be.
On Dinovite, she's Little Miss Hollywood. DINOVITE.com.
Divvy's been a pretty good investment for Free Talk Live. Their ad campaign started in September 2019, and from mid-March to mid-July, the values soared by 10 times. It's not too late. Divvy's new wallet hasn't even released yet, and other things are happening that I can't even say on the radio. If you want to invest and potentially do well, go to DivvyProject.org. I can tell you that FTL is deepening its partnership with the guys from DivvyProject.org. Past performance is not an indication of future profit. DivvyProject.org. DIVI Project.org.
Join liberty-minded voluntarists, anarchists, and libertarians from June 28th through July 4th for ForkFest 2021 at Rogers Campground in the beautiful White Mountains of New Hampshire. ForkFest happens the week after the Porcupine Freedom Festival, and ForkFest is decentralized, which means no one is in charge. That also means there's no ticket cost. Just reserve your camping, RV site, or motel room with Rogers Campground for June 28th through July 4th. Where better to celebrate Independence Day than around other freedom-loving activists in the Shire? You can relax and enjoy the camaraderie of like-minded people, or you can create whatever experience or event you'd like others to have. If you're planning an event for ForkFest, be sure to let others know in advance. You can connect with fellow ForkFesters via the unofficial Telegram chat or the ForkFest forum. Links to those are on the unofficial website, forkfest.party. Mark your calendar for June 28th through July 4th, 2021. We'll see you at forkfest.party. The Free State Project has reached its goal of 20,000 liberty lovers who've pledged to move to New Hampshire and get active to achieve liberty in our lifetime. Perhaps you're trying to figure out what part of New Hampshire should be your destination. If so, consider Keene. You'll find more than 150 reasons to move to Keene at move.freekeene.com. Keene is famous for its historic, publicity-generating activism, as well as being the liberty media capital of the world. It's home to freekeene.com, New Hampshire's destination for liberty activism, news, and opinion. For years, we've been compiling over 150 reasons to move to Keene at move.freekeene.com, where you'll learn about some of what's happening here and what makes Keene a great place to live. If you love liberty, you'll probably enjoy anywhere you end up in the Shire. But do your due diligence first. Please visit move.freekeene.com for the full list of over 150 reasons to move to Keene. That's move.freekeene.com. If you want to know the latest about Free Talk Live before we go on the air, all you need to decide is how you want it delivered. It's your choice. Visit news.freetalklive.com to receive our usually weekly news updates by email. Plus, we have a Twitter account at twitter.freetalklive.com, and you can follow us on the decentralized Mastodon platform at toot.freetalklive.com. So please follow us at toot.freetalklive.com and sign up for our emails at news.freetalklive.com.
Are you tired of governments murdering people around the world? Stop using their money. There is an alternative. Bitcoin is a stateless, free market, non-political currency. Bitcoin cannot be inflated or controlled by any government. By using their money, you are helping the state. Stop doing it. You have an incredible alternative available now. Learn it, use it, spread it.
Get started with Bitcoin at bitcoin.com. That's bitcoin.com.
Now you can follow LRN.FM on the decentralized Mastodon social media platform at toot.lrn.fm, toot.lrn.fm.
It's Free Talk Live, talk radio that you control. The only show where you can call in and talk about anything that's on your mind. That toll-free number is 855-450-3733. With you tonight, it's Aria.
It's Ian.
And Vincent.
And the previous caller, Connor, should know that communities actually can issue their own currency backed by Intercoin. They can choose to inflate the circulating supply of their own money to spend on internal projects, or they can choose to tax certain transactions to remove money from circulation. These activities deterministically change the exchange rate of the community's local money to Intercoin without affecting other communities or the rest of the Intercoin ecosystem. Each community can choose its own policies and openly program them into their coins, including support for UBIs and stuff like that. And each individual can choose what coins to get and how to spend them with upfront knowledge of what they're getting into. Intercoin is attempting to regain some of the freedoms that we've lost on the internet and in the real world, and we think that's important here on Free Talk Live. So we accepted $40,000 worth of Intercoin tokens from Intercoin Inc. for advertising. If you also think freedom is important, check out Intercoin at intercoin.org. You can invest in the project and potentially make big gains, or just be involved and perhaps shape its future. Again, that's intercoin.org, INTER coin.org. And I realize we moved around a lot, but do you happen to have that German internet censorship article?
Actually, I do. It is disturbing. We will tell you about this. Let me just pull
Anytime.
Let me just pull it up.
Well, that was like 2 hours ago when I first mentioned it. So,
German-style internet censorship catches on around the world. The story coming from Reason.com's J.D. Tusil. Inspired by Germany's notorious hate speech law, more countries seek to impose steep penalties on platforms that don't comply with their censorship whims.
Well, before we get too deeply into what those censorship whims really are, let's go to the phones because we've got Stephanie calling from Oregon. Stephanie, you're on Free Talk Live.
Hi. I wanted to ask Aria and Ian about what they think of these militia members that were plotting to abduct the governors of Michigan and Virginia.
Actually, I think Vincent would be the best person to answer that question because he's watched the videos.
I don't know anything about it.
I think that they were most likely. First, the media said that they were right-wingers. Then the alternative media said very Antifa. But once you actually listen to some of the things that because one of them one of them that was charged had a YouTube channel, and I think the other one did too. And they recorded their thoughts and things. And
these are the guys who, by the way, they've been charged with conspiracy to abduct or something like that.
Yeah, something very serious
to kidnap the Michigan governor.
The governor, yeah, and they sounded like as if they listened to this show. They sounded like anarcho-capitalists. They were
anarcho-capitalists don't threaten to kidnap people.
Maybe he didn't. I mean, we still don't know.
That's true,
right? Like you haven't seen the evidence in this particular case.
That's true.
He did have like an anarchist flag behind him too.
Yeah,
didn't
the red A.
Oh, so there were ANCOMs.
Well, now that's not clear.
Oh, the red A is always ANCOM. That's why my A's are yellow. That's a deliberate design choice.
Well, and I mean the apartment or wherever he filmed it, it was very bare bones. Like it showed a map of Michigan and then it showed the flag. So now I'm not, we don't know all the details and stuff. But
what
I mean,
was
if
his
it
name?
was a Fed,
do you remember his name?
No, I forget his name. But if and they deleted his YouTube channel too, right? As soon, of course. So
this is why he should have used library.
And so, but if it was, let's say, a Fed false flag, or if it was someone who was an informant or something, that would I'm not making any accusations, but it would make sense. It's just like a total bare bones apartment, other than one piece of very obvious political paraphernalia.
So you think he may have been an undercover agent?
It's possible. It's certainly possible.
It's also worth mentioning that were they actually planning to kidnap the governor, or were they planning a citizen's arrest? Because citizen's arrests are constitutionally legal.
Yep, that's a good question.
Well,
Go ahead.
As I understand it, they were planning to grab the governor from her home and break in, so that doesn't really sound like a citizen's arrest to me.
Why? That's what the cops do when they arrest people. That's literally what the cops do.
Yeah, she's a criminal. Yeah, she's committing crimes against humanity.
Okay.
Well, the justice system isn't going to give them a warrant because the justice system is colluding with the governor.
Go ahead.
So to be clear, if my understanding is that these guys were in some way associated with the Boogaloo Boys, where they were intending to spark a civil war.
Who are the Blue Boys?
I suspect it's a psyop.
Boog
I highly
Boys.
success the Boogaloo Boys. Yeah, it originated from a 4chan, right? It was Boogaloo was a 4chan meme, right? Just like QAnon, something else that originated from 4chan.
Boogaloo predates 4chan. It's from a movie from the 80s that was something to Electric Boogaloo.
Yeah, it was the sequel, but the meme...
Breaking 2.
The meme was from 4chan.
That's it.
Yeah, because it's like the sequel,
No,
right?
it's from TV tropes, long before 4chan. Well, I don't know which of the two came first between 4chan and TV tropes. I don't know.
But it's from the internet. It's from the internet.
Breaking 2 Electric Boogaloo has nothing to do with the Boogaloo.
Well,
but that's where it comes from.
That's the point, though. It's like Electric Boogaloo. What does that even mean?
The word
right?
Boogaloo came before that movie, just so you know.
But none of the Boog Boys that I know would condone this.
The point is, and the ones I've known and I've seen are, some of them are accelerationists, right? So that's why I suspect, and they suddenly just appeared too, right? I encountered the Boogaloo Boys in Concord during the anti-mask protests, and they didn't have a website, then suddenly they had a website, then suddenly it's gone. So I think it's I find them suspect, right? I think they're probably some sort of prop, right? Like an Emmanuel Goldstein. Yeah, Goldstein.
I hung out with some of them at Fork Fest.
Well, I think it could be a honeypot. So there's naturally going to be a lot of decent people there.
Okay.
I think it's a honeypot from my research.
I think it's risky and unwise to join a militia in the current political climate. But I think that if a person wants to, they should do that. But if they call their group a militia, I'm backing away from it.
Yeah, prime bait for COINTELPRO.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. So I mean, because I'm kind of new to the whole idea of the voluntarist thing, and that feels to me like it kind of does coincide with a lot of the goals of these militia groups, but you just are like, no, not for me.
Well, I don't know what the militia groups believe. I mean, they may have members that believe different things. So, I mean, there may be, there was like 7 people arrested in federal charges in Michigan and like another 6 or 7 arrested under state charges. So you've got at least a dozen people there that probably don't all agree. I mean, if you get 10 libertarians in the same room, you probably have 10 somewhat differing positions on various different things. So it's hard to really say the militia thinks or the militia movement believes, because there are different types of militias, and even within the same militia you probably have disparate viewpoints. So just because this one guy had an anarchy flag doesn't mean that all 7 that were arrested would describe themselves similarly. So I'm personally against violence as a means to an end. I think that it's okay to use defensive force to defend yourself and loved ones or total strangers from aggression, but ultimately as a peace-loving voluntarist, I think that peace is the way.
I have to agree with that as well. I think that violence begets violence, and if you use violence to get rid of violence, the result is more violence.
And you can become what you hate as well.
Yeah. Well, Stephanie, thank you so much for the call. I wish I knew more about, what was going on in Michigan, but I don't.
What I think it is it was a very opportunistic, right? It came at a very opportune time because the Supreme Court of Michigan came out and said that Gretchen Whitmer was acting like a tyrant with her lockdown. So she needed something to get political sympathy points, and for the other thing to get swept under the rug.
It was your typical FBI inside job.
Well, Stephanie mentioned a warrant. It sounds like the Supreme Court of Michigan handed them a warrant by calling her a tyrant. 855-450-FREE.
Oh, that's a good
News
way to
from
put it.
news.bitcoin.com. Economist claims that value of US dollar will descend by 35% in the next year, and the dollar is the most overrated major currency in the world today. US Federal Reserve is actively working on turning the US dollar into a digital currency. Bitcoin set a new record for time above $10,000 in value. Bitcoin.com is your source for getting started with cryptocurrencies, getting a wallet, buying Bitcoin Cash, mining, and all the latest cryptocurrency news at news.bitcoin.com.
From New York Times and Wall Street Journal bestselling author Larry Correia comes the latest chapter in the epic military fantasy saga of The Forgotten Warrior, when the Grand Inquisitor perverts the law in his genocidal plot to kill every man, woman, and child in the untouchable cast. Only the traitor, Ashok Vadal, and the Sons of the Black Sword stand in his way. If it's war he wants, it is war he will get. Bain Books presents Destroyer of Worlds. Available September 1st, wherever books are sold. Visit MonsterHunterNation.com for more.
This is Michael Dean from the Freedom Fiends. I've run websites since 1996 and have used over a dozen web hosts in that time. AgristHosting.com is the only one that hasn't broken my heart. Agrist Hosting's uptime and service is stellar, and their DDoS mitigation is the best I've seen. That's important because if you tell the truth in this world, you'll ruffle feathers. And some people will try dirty tricks to silence your voice. No matter what the haters hit us with, Agrist Hosting keeps our websites online. If you have a mission-critical commercial presence or a world-changing activism site, you cannot tolerate any skullduggery. So go with AgristHosting.com. Have a WordPress or blog site, but you're not satisfied with performance or uptime? Or just want raw hosting? Want to pay with Bitcoin? Agrist Hosting specializes in high-performance hosting with personalized service. Go to AgristHosting.com and click on the button that says Get Hosted. That's AgristHosting.com.
So you've signed the Shire Society Declaration and are planning your move to New Hampshire to be around more liberty-oriented people. Next, sign up for the Shire Society Forum at forum.shiresociety.com. There are a bunch of people there who are already in the Shire, and they want to meet you. If you're already in the Shire physically, you should also come by the forums. Remember, not everyone uses Facebook. New people are signing up for the Shire Society Forum every month, so drop in and say hello at forum.shiresociety.com. The LRN.FM social media channels have been revamped. We've eliminated Facebook and focused on other platforms like Twitter and Mastodon, the decentralized alternative to Twitter. On our accounts, you'll find posts from multiple LRN.FM show hosts together in one place. Follow us on Twitter at twitter.lrn.fm, or better yet, move to the decentralized Mastodon social media platform at toot.lrn.fm, toot.lrn.fm. I think you'll like it.
We have some good news. The indictments against Ross Ulbricht in the District of Maryland were dismissed with prejudice, meaning they can never be refiled. This is especially good because those indictments contain the only charge ever made that Ross engaged in murder for hire. This was a serious allegation that Ross Ulbricht denies. It was never prosecuted or ruled on by a jury, but was trumpeted by the federal government and the media as if it were proven fact. The Maryland court held these indictments for almost 5 years, poisoning Ross's case and leaving him under a cloud of unproven allegations. As explained in Ross's appeal to the Supreme Court, the fact that the judge used these allegations to give Ross a draconian sentence of double life without parole violated his Sixth Amendment right to a jury trial. Judges are required to issue sentences based on convictions decided by a jury, not unproven allegations never even charged at trial. Although this is a positive development, the dropped indictment will not set Ross free. Now, a presidential pardon is Ross's only hope of freedom. Sign the petition at freeross.org. freeross.org.
This is the Liberty Radio Network, broadcasting the latest liberty-oriented audio content 24 hours a day at LRN.FM.
It's Free Talk Live, talk radio that you control. You can call in and talk about anything you want. That toll-free number is 855-450-3733. With you in the studio, it's Aria, Ian, and Vincent. And we're going to a festival. Vincent, I don't know whether or not you're going, actually. It's called
He went this year.
He did. But it's called Fork Fest, and it's June the 28th through July the 4th in 2021 at Rogers Campground in the beautiful White Mountains of New Hampshire. It is the week after the Porcupine Freedom Festival, but Fork Fest is decentralized, which means no one is in charge, It also means there's no ticket cost. All you have to do is reserve your camping site, your RV site, or motel room with Rogers Campground for June the 29th through July the 4th. There's going to be a fireworks show. Last year,
we hope. I mean, we can't say for sure.
Presumably, they historically have a fireworks show.
For 42 years, they've had a fireworks show there, so there's a good chance it will continue.
And I mean, presumably, the sun will rise tomorrow, and the volcano at Yellowstone won't erupt, and we won't all be dead. So, presumably, there will be ForkFest 2021. Yes. Again, that's June the 28th through July the 4th. You can find out more about it at forkfest.party. That's forkfest.party. Look forward to seeing you there because it's always a great time.
This was your second year, was it not, Vincent?
Yeah, it was my second year.
So you must have had a good time the first time.
Well, the first time I was more focused on selling stuff and running a vending stand.
So was this a better time than this year?
Yeah, because I actually was able to just relax and screw around.
Cool.
I sort of ran a vendor stand this year, but it was mostly just putting out boxes of wine and cups and a QR code. It was self-serve, so I didn't have to actually do anything. There was someone there most of the time who was cooking and selling food and all of that, but the actual vending
it was
of
out
the
all
wine,
night long. I mean, it wasn't. I wouldn't say most of the time. Like, it was out where there was no one around. It's the honor system, and it worked out pretty well, I thought.
It did. It worked out great. I mean, I certainly didn't lose money from it.
What did you call it? The blood of Christ?
Yes.
$1 gold back was the price of.
We had another name for the white wine, but let's not talk about that.
I don't think you're going to be able to get away with $1 gold back for the price next year if gold price keeps going up.
That's true.
We'll see.
I'll just put out bigger cups, man.
There you go.
More blood of Christ for everyone. Or I guess it would be smaller cups. Yeah, it would be bigger cups. Yeah. Chalices.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Oh, that's a great idea. I can do like Sean, the food and drink vendor, and have like a special Reformed Satanic Church cup that gives you unlimited refills. This is a great idea. I love brainstorming.
Yeah.
So anyway, Germany has set a precedent for censorship, it would seem, and this is coming to us from Reason.com.
It is. J.D. Tassil is the author there at Reason.com. Even as the world wrestles with a pandemic and overbearing public health measures, some legislative bodies are taking the opportunity to tighten the screws on speech they don't like the United States government throwing Chris Cantwell into a jail cell. Political prisoner. Several bills have passed, others are pending, and one was gutted by court review, but all represent new fronts in government efforts to impose censorship. For free speech advocates, the luckiest break might have been the fate of a law passed by the French National Assembly in May. While existing requirements give companies 24 hours to take down content alleged by the government to glorify terrorist activity or constitute child pornography, the new law would have changed that to 1 hour.
Now, isn't it interesting here that the two great evils, the things you can never, ever, ever play devil advocate for without someone becoming irate, is terrorism and child pornography?
Well, it depends on which terrorism. So if you're talking about terrorism from the Middle East or from, wherever Ireland or wherever the terrorists come from these days, then that's bad. Terrorism bad in that case. But if people are praising the government military going around bombing people or the police raiding people, which is terrorism,
it's glorifying terrorist activity, yes.
But they don't see it like that. They just see that as talking about what the government's policies are.
But that's part of the whole mythology of the state, is that, we don't call it this. It's not kidnapping, it's arresting, it's not extortion, it's fining. It's
euphemisms. They use euphemisms.
It's not terrorism, it's a just war.
Right, even though the definition of terrorism is essentially the use of violence to achieve a political cause.
Yeah. And that's literally what the state does.
Yeah. So going on here, while existing so again, the existing requirements are pretty outrageous as is. Like, you've got 24 hours, according to the French National Assembly, to take down a offensive terror/child porn post that somebody has identified on your website. Now they're talking about changing that to 1 hour.
I agree it's ridiculous, but that is not going to be the hill I pick to die on.
No doubt. In addition, online publishers would have been allowed a day to remove so-called hate speech. The same 24-hour obligation would have applied to content reported for violation of a law that criminalizes speech that promotes, glorifies, or engages in justification of sexual violence, war crimes, crimes against humanity, enslavement, or collaboration with the enemy.
How can they say any of this while the state is out there engaging in war crimes, crimes against humanity, enslavement, and sexual violence?
And
the state is the ultimate perpetrator of all of these things. Like,
right.
From a margin of thousands to one. No rapist out there, no terrorist organization out there has ever been as effective in what it does as the state.
Yeah, they've never come close. It also, let's see here, so enslavement, collaboration with the enemy, a law that criminalizes sexual harassment, and a law that bans pornography where it could be seen by a minor, among others, reports Jacob Schultz of Lawfare.
I like the current system where you just say, yes, I am 18, and you can be 12 years old and curious, and I don't see that there's anything wrong with that.
Well, we're talking about the 24-hour obligation, apparently, that applies to all of these contents that have been reported, because all these things apparently violate French law, apparently, I guess.
Well, French law is stupid then.
Yeah.
Well, I'm surprised child pornography violates French law from all the crap that's been coming out from there. But
Lawfare's guy Schultz says, quote, the law did not carve out any exceptions. The 24-hour rule would have applied even in the case of technical difficulties or a temporary surge in notifications. Unquote. In June, France's constitutional court struck down the vast majority of the law as an unconstitutional threat to freedom of expression. That's really the only good news to report so far. France's blocked hate speech law was inspired by Germany's notorious NetzDG law, which makes online platforms liable for illegal content. So that's bad. That is the opposite of what they have here in the United States.
I don't know. I think that's fair. If Facebook wants to claim ownership of any content I post to them, then they should be legally responsible for that content. They're taking ownership of it. If they want to say it's theirs, then it's freaking theirs. And it's their problem to deal with.
That's an interesting argument.
If I don't want it to be theirs, I would use Mastodon or Library.
It's an interesting argument, but I don't support it ultimately because it's crazy to have the perspective that a company that has the massive server space and content that these companies do to have them, take responsibility legally for that stuff. It would
I agree,
basically
and therefore
shut
they
those
should not
services
claim
down.
ownership of my content.
I see what you're saying.
Well, I think the point of this also is to centralize the internet because, like small websites or independent websites, like VK is based in Russia, so that can't afford to have like a bot or some sort of advanced AI or to hire a bunch of moderators to moderate their content. We're gonna go out of business or shut down. While the big major social media companies and internet companies that are more likely to kowtow to the government, they're going to be the only ones who are allowed on, and they're going to only allow the right kind of opinion, the kind of opinion the government allows.
I have thought further on this now, Aria. And have you actually read the terms of service for Facebook?
No, but I'm
gonna
almost
guess
positive it does say they own my content.
Okay, I think you're right about that, but I suspect that it is likely a non-exclusive license, meaning that you can still post that same content to other places, but Facebook retains the right to use it. Let's say they want to put your photo in an advertisement for Facebook. They can do that. You gave it to them. But it's non-exclusive, meaning that they can't prevent you from using the same photo on another venue or running your own advertisements for that. So is that the same thing as them owning your content? I don't think it is. From a legal perspective, I don't think it is.
I've certainly given them permission to use it within certain contexts, for sure.
Mm-hmm.
But I was the one who uploaded it there. Do they own it exclusively?
No.
No, because I also own it. We can both share it because it's a digital thing. Them owning it doesn't keep me from owning it.
But if they wanted to
it's
own
just
it,
like with piracy.
they could put that in their terms, which could say it's an exclusive license, meaning that you would be granting them exclusivity to do what they want with it, which means you couldn't do anything else with it. They're not doing that to people.
Well, because nobody would post pictures to Facebook.
Would
if
they?
could. I don't think they would. It'd be interesting to see.
What if you could cut your heating bills this winter with your existing wood-burning fireplace and not spend thousands doing it? You can with Great Wall of Fire fireplace grates. Our U.S. patented made-in-America Wall of Fire grates increase fireplace efficiency, eliminate fireplace smoke problems, and come with a 30-day money-back guarantee. See our grates in action and get free shipping from walloffire.com or call 800-274-7364. Fireplace heat without fireplace smoke. walloffire.com.
Attention business owners body slammed by overwhelming debt. If your business is in trouble, hassled by creditors, if you're frustrated, finally fed up with big business bailouts while your business has been left for dead, please listen close. There's a brand new fast-track bankruptcy. Some have even called it the biggest small business bailout in American history. designed for individuals and their businesses. And look, almost no one knows about this yet. My attorney wasn't even aware of it. The truth is, beating the system has never been easy because it's rigged in a sense against the little guy. But here's the jaw-dropping news nobody's talking about. They've literally just changed the system so that you can beat it, but only if you understand how the new game has to be played. Find out if you qualify at pocketsoflight.com. This government-backed small business repair program is still legal, but may not be renewed after the election. Fight back fairly, fight back ethically at pocketsoflight.com.
Hi, I'm Dan Pilla. I started fighting the IRS over 40 years ago when they tried to seize my mother's house. I sued the IRS and won. I beat the IRS then, and I've been beating them ever since. I wrote the book on tax debt settlement, and I've helped thousands of people deal with tax problems they thought might never be solved. I can help you too. If you owe taxes you can't pay, don't wait another day. There's no such thing as a hopeless tax case. Call 800-34-NO-TAX or go to my website, danpilla.com. That's danpilla.com, danpilla.com.
Join liberty-minded voluntarists, anarchists, and libertarians from June 28th through July 4th for ForkFest 2021 at Rogers Campground in the beautiful White Mountains of New Hampshire. ForkFest happens the week after the Porcupine Freedom Festival, and ForkFest is decentralized, which means no one is in charge. That also means there's no ticket cost. Just reserve your camping, RV site, or motel room with Rogers Campground for June 28th through July 4th. Where better to celebrate Independence Day than around other freedom-loving activists in the Shire? You can relax and enjoy the camaraderie of like-minded people, or you can create whatever experience or event you'd like others to have. If you're planning an event for ForkFest, be sure to let others know in advance. You can connect with fellow ForkFesters via the unofficial Telegram chat or the ForkFest forum. Links to those are on the unofficial website, forkfest.party. Mark your calendar for June 28th through July 4th, 2021. We'll see you at forkfest.party. There are lots of ways to listen to Free Talk Live. Our podcast has been around since podcasts began, and now the FTL feed is loaded with content besides our full show archives. Did you know that we make it easy for you to customize your podcast subscriptions? We have different feeds, one that includes only our full shows, one with just the Daily Digest, and our main feed that includes everything. You decide what you listen to. It's quick and easy to customize your feeds at feeds.freetalklive.com. That's feeds.freetalklive.com. The new 4th edition of Healing Our World, The Compassion of Libertarianism will take your understanding of liberty to a deeper level and has over 1,300 updated references, new cartoons, and a foreword by Dr. Ron Paul. With discounts for multiple book purchases, the 4th edition of Healing Our World is a great gift for the liberals, pragmatists, environmentalists, and Christians in your life who think libertarianism is cold-hearted. Get yours today at healing.freetalklive.com and use promo code FTL for a $5 discount.
You can sign up to receive the latest about the Liberty Radio Network via our email updates at updates.lrn.fm. That's updates.lrn.fm.
It's Free Talk Live, talk radio that you control. If you're quick, you can still get on the air with us. That toll-free number is 855-450-3733. With you in the studio tonight is Aria, Ian, and Vincent. And I want to say thank you to Jordy, who is tonight's amplifier. This means he's a member of the AMP program. You can find it at amp.freetalklive.com. AMP stands for Advertise, Market, and Promote. It's money that is used strictly to help us get on Free Talk Live, Free Talk Live on more radio stations. I'm very tired. I have not had nearly enough caffeine today. And if you like the show, if you want to help us get out there, reach a larger audience, then the AMP program is the best way to do that. You can find it once more. That's amp.freetalklive.com. Jordy, I want to say thanks, and I hope you continue amplifying the show. I think we're up to close to 200 radio stations. And we lost some with the COVID, with our COVID positions, but I think we've picked up a substantial chunk.
I would not. There was actually one. We did lose one officially because we weren't towing the government line, and they specifically did cite that in their reason for taking us off the air, but it was only one. I wouldn't suggest it was more than one.
Okay. And it surprised them that we were not towing the government's
No, it didn't
line.
surprise them.
Okay.
Actually,
that's good at least.
No, the program director told me that he likes our libertarian views, but in this, at this time, he didn't want to differ from what the state was doing in this, and that he would supposedly bring us back. Once
Now
this
it's not
is
the
all...
time for liberty.
Yeah. So
when it really mattered, he chickened out.
That's right.
Yep.
Yeah.
Pathetic.
Well, these are businesses that are heavily regulated by the government, so you can understand why they want to appease. Speaking of government regulations, we were talking about NetzDG. It's spelled NETZDG. It is a German law. They call it the Network Enforcement Law. Unlike the United States government that has, Section 230 of the Communications Decency Act that essentially exempts media companies like YouTube or Facebook online from liability for the posts of their users. So meaning if you post something that's copyrighted or if you post some sort of pornography that's illegal or whatever, you post some sort of violent threat, that's not actually the responsibility of the people that are hosting your content. Same thing's true for our forum, for instance.
But Facebook and YouTube and et cetera, they do still voluntarily take down that content, even though they're not legally liable for it.
When it's brought to their attention, they do that. And in certain
good point. If it was their legal responsibility, they would have to seek out that content.
And that becomes really problematic because then they basically just have to block content wholesale until it's approved, and it makes it impossible.
It moves to a whitelisting system.
Yeah, it makes it impossible to have a user-contributed site. So apparently Germany doesn't care about that because in Germany it is the law that social media companies must block or remove content that violates one of 20 restrictions on hate and defamatory speech in German criminal code. And they say, in effect, the NetzDG system conscripts social media companies into governmental service as content regulators, with millions of euros in fines hanging over their heads if they guess wrong.
Yeah, and then it doesn't just conscript the company; it conscripts these people who are already. I mean, even here for like Facebook, the content regulators are already overworked. There aren't enough of them. They're removing content that's sometimes giving them PTSD because it's so horrific.
Right. These people's jobs is to sit there all day and look at the most offensive internet posts you can imagine. All the gore, all the porn, all the horrifying worst of the worst. These people, threats, these people are looking at that, and that's got to be tough.
For 8 to 10 hours a day, multiple days a week. Yeah, I'm not surprised to find they're suffering from PTSD, and Germany wants to take that one step further and force them to do it and put millions of euros in threats over their heads if they mess up.
Well, I don't think it's that they want to. I think that the NetzDG thing is a thing, and it's inspiring. So it exists, and it's inspiring other governments, including the French government. They point out here that that model of delegated censorship has proven to be as infectious as viral outbreak, now taking hold in over a dozen other countries. Quote, this raises the question of whether Europe's most influential democracy has contributed to the further erosion of global internet freedom by developing and legitimizing a prototype of online censorship by proxy that can readily be adapted to serve the ends of authoritarian states. This according to Justitia, a Danish judicial think tank.
I would suggest that it was created to serve the needs of authoritarian states, and that doesn't have to be adapted to that purpose.
Mm-hmm.
That was the point.
I'm just thinking, these workers, they should shut up and stop complaining because they have a rather cushy job compared to a coal miner or a police officer. They get to sit on their ass all day looking at internet pictures and clicking buttons. Ooh, big. I have PTSD. Oh no. When I've been looking at that kind of crap on B, ever since I could use a computer in middle school, right?
I tend to agree with you on that one, Vincent. I mean, they could go get another job if they wanted to, if it was really that horrifying.
They certainly could. Yeah. But, why would you even say police officers have the cushiest job in the United States?
I was screwing around. No, okay. Okay, I'll use a better example. Someone who's in, Force Recon Battalion or, someone who actually has to see combat.
It's no surprise when countries like Russia, Turkey, and Venezuela emulate intrusive legislation from elsewhere. They don't need much encouragement, but we've already seen that French legislators followed Germany's lead, and lawmakers in the UK are poised to do the same. The paper cited NetzDG as a potential legislative model, saying, quote, in the wrong hands, the internet can be used to spread terrorist and other illegal or harmful content, undermine civil discourse, and abuse or bully other people, according to a British government paper on online harms. Last week, British lawmakers debated...
Yes, it can. It can also be used to argue against, harmful content, argue against bullying people, argue against abusing people.
Last week, British lawmakers debated the very broad powers that the government seeks. Their proposals, quote, introduce a new concept into law, legal but harmful for online speech.
Oh, God.
Cautious Ruth Smeeth of the Index on Censorship. She says, quote, it's conflating what is already illegal, such as incitement and threat, with speech with which we may disagree, but in a free society is and should be legal.
There is no such thing as harmful speech.
Well,
harm can only occur when there's an action.
I tend to agree with you. I'm against libel and what's the other one? Slander laws. I think that you should be able to say things that are false, and that but the law disagrees with you. The law says that if something false is said about you and you can prove that it somehow damaged your reputation, especially if you're a non-public person, then you can get damages out of that person.
I understand what the law says, but I don't get my morality from the law.
I agree with you. It's ridiculous, but that's the situation. Yeah. I'm just saying that for people that may not realize that that's the case. So, unfortunately, we don't have freedom of speech in the United States, and libel and slander are two examples of that. And now threats and extortion are being charged against somebody we know, Christopher Cantwell, who says a lot of ugly things, no doubt about it. But saying something mean to someone online should be protected speech. If it's not an actual, I'm going to kill you.
If it's not an actual actionable threat.
Yeah, believable threat. But they're going to try to put him in prison. He's now got a guilty finding by a jury of his so-called peers. He's looking at up 25 years behind bars for simply saying on the internet to another scumbag that he was going to have sex with his wife in front of his children, or their children, the so-called victims.
Which is
children.
a stupid, juvenile, petty comment that you would expect to hear from someone you just shot in the head in Call of Duty.
Right. I totally expect to see that in Internet Tough Talk.
Yeah.
And that's basically what this was. It's the same crap that has been going on for decades online. But the fact is, now somebody's going to be facing a lot of time in prison over this. So people hearing this story in reason about Europe thinking, oh, it can't happen here. No, it's happening here. They just haven't legislated it yet. It's sort of just kind of happening out in the courts. And it's happening to a Nazi, a self-professed Nazi. So no one cares.
Yes, that way they're able to set the precedent about this, because no one's going to step up to defend the Nazi who was making threats online, except, us crazy lunatics who actually stand by our principles and who will do that. The rest of the world's going to be like, oh, it's just a Nazi. Who cares? I don't care if he was guilty or not. Throw him in prison. But then the precedent is set.
Here's another example of this NetzDG-inspired law, this one coming to Austria, which would require the removal of content whose, quote, illegality is already evident to a legal layperson, unquote, explains Martin Riedel, a native Austrian and PhD student at the University of Texas, saying the law would further encourage compliance by, quote, forbidding their debtors, meaning businesses who advertise on those platforms, to pay what they owe to the platforms that don't conform to the law. So they would get in between the business deals, I guess, of their advertisers. That's expected to encourage even more overblocking by platforms worried that they'll face a financial death penalty if they guess wrong as to the content's legal status. And although Austrians may not be able to outflank their role models, Germany this summer moved to make NetzDG even more restrictive by adding mandatory hate speech reporting requirements. So
how is that going to work?
I don't know. I don't know if it's the users that have to report it or the administrators that have to report it, but talk about a Byzantine mess of regulations that are totally outrageous and going to crush internet free speech.
And getting enforced by people who did not sign up to be law enforcers. I think that's one of the biggest issues here. Thanks for listening. This has been Free Talk Live. You can head on over to freetalklive.com to check out the show archives there going back more than 10 years, or join the AMP program.
Remember when you first heard about Bitcoin? How long did it take you to realize this little project would soon change the world? Do you kind of wish you had gotten involved sooner? Well, now is your chance to be a part of the next revolution in money. Intercoin is working to finally make crypto go mainstream. It's designed to be